When teams across the country need custom apparel that looks sharp, feels great, and shows off team pride, they call Hatch and Custom Community. From scholastic programs to collegiate athletics, and even local businesses wanting branded apparel that actually gets noticed, Michael and his team deliver quality, creativity, and service that goes full tilt. See what I did there? So if they're helping winning teams stand out, why not yours? For custom apparel with championship level results, go to customcommunity.com. This is the Full Tilt Podcast with Hatch.
All right, here we go. And we're off. Jeff
Off
McGinness.
and running, ready to roll?
We are ready to roll.
Exciting times.
Yes, sir. Jeff McGinness in the house.
Yeah.
How we doing, friend?
It's been a while.
Yes.
I think we saw each other a few years ago, Fargo, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
obviously kind of stayed in touch with some recruits and things like that. But, you know, it's been a while for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since you used to whoop my butt back in the early 90s. A couple times a week or whatever.
Yeah. You've stayed skinnier, though. I got big, and now I've sort of like skinny down a little bit. So, I mean, that single life's keeping you nice, fit, and
Is that
skinny.
right?
Where you get married, so you get married and you have kids. I feel obligated to gain that sympathy pounds with my wife. And so the problem is she has the kids, she loses the weight. I just keep it on. I just kept it on for so long. So,
Well, I bet you can still wrestle. There's no doubt there. Yeah,
I do. I still lace them up. I mean,
Yeah.
for a while when I was here on the boys' side, I was wrestling, 3-4 days a week with some of them, putting it on, and I feel good. The cool thing is I didn't, I hung up my competitive shoes much earlier than a lot. A lot continue on for 3, 4, 5 years, and you see them guys down the road, and all of a sudden they can't walk, their hip hurts and things like that. I was pretty good to my body. One, when I wrestled, I wasn't an overly physical guy, and then two, I think kind of putting my competitive shoes off sooner than I probably should have, saved my body. And so I don't really have any, hip, shoulder, anything like that. I mean, my dad's got like 2 fake knees and 2 fake shoulders and all that. I'm down the road. I might get there now that I'm back wrestling, but I feel pretty good, and I'm able to scrap.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, because you're in 50s already, right?
I turned 51 here
51,
in what is today, in 6 days or 5-6 days. Yeah, I turned 51. So I turned a big 50, and I was like, I don't feel 50. I think maybe coaching women is keeping me a little younger than than otherwise, because they keep me on my toes a little bit more. But it's been a interesting, different journey to get into coaching. I tell when I'm talking to recruits, and they're like, "Well, how did you get into coaching?" I'm like, "Well, it's a different path than most. Most wrestle, they graduate, they're a grad assistant, and they kind of make their ways through it. I took a brief hiatus, a pretty long hiatus from like coaching before I kind of got back into it. So
yeah, that's gonna be the fun part of it too, because obviously mine was pretty well. I mean, I got right into it, but but like I said, my way to where I'm at now was kind of non-traditional as well. So, but I'm glad you're back in it. That's for sure. I know I tell you this every time. I mean, because literally, and for those that you don't know, Jeff McGinness, obviously legendary Hawkeye, 3-time All-American, 2-time national champ, early 90s, teammate of mine for 3 years, I believe it was. Yeah, 3 years. Workout partner. I worked out with you quite often, and I tell people this over and over again. They asked me who the best wrestler was I ever wrestled in the Iowa room, because we obviously had some hammers. Yeah. Back in the day, it was. I said pure wrestler, no Jeff McGinness, and they're like, because obviously
more so than Lincoln.
I didn't wrestle Lincoln once.
Lincoln was bigger, yeah. So I had to wrestle Lincoln enough, because when I bumped up and he was still training, I wrestled. I remember wrestling him one time, and I remember wrestling Joe Williams. I'm like, this is just, and Joe was big. Joe was my roommate, and I don't know how I ended up with Joe one day, but it was like, holy cow, it's a whole another level. And same thing with wrestling Lincoln. I felt like Lincoln was wrestling down to my capability sometimes when I was wrestling him. Yeah. Like that's how good he was too. So
I've heard that from everybody. I literally wrestled him one time. It was for those 20-second goes. And obviously I wasn't the one trying to score it, but he lit me up.
Oh, those Gable goes?
He was a true freshman.
Where it's like you got two partners rotate. You're one of the partners rotating on him, and he has to score.
It was just me and Lincoln.
Just you and Lincoln?
Oh, yeah. He was a true freshman when he won nationals.
Dude, he always lucked out, because I remember but Gable would cycle. So we did those at the end of the year, right before Big Tens. It's sort of a peaking thing that he would do. Mm-hmm. I always had 2 partners. Yeah. So they'd rotate. So they're fresh, and I'm going, like, you get a 20-second go, you have to score every go. Yeah. And then you get done with that, and then you go on that old school reel runner. Like
Yes.
I think those are still there.
Yeah.
And we've talked about trying to find the old, because they make the new fancy
new
reel
ones.
runners now.
Yeah.
Like I
Nothing
want
like
the
those
old
ones.
school crank ones. Like if we're gonna get them, we're gonna hunt down the old. Same with like the old Atom dummy. They don't make them anymore now. It's a little stick figure Atom dummy. Just trying to find the old torture equipment that we used to have in the room.
The old school Airdynes. The Airdynes now are nothing like those gold
Old
ones.
school Airdynes. Obviously rope
With a needle?
climbs and all those. God, what else did we have back in that day? You kind of, there wasn't, now you can buy fat bars.
Yeah.
Like Gable would take the original bars and take them to a welder to make like fat bar.
I know.
Like everything was kind of pieced together in the old like factory kind of way, which was kind of cool. Even though we had all the resources we did, some of the equipment, some of the training methods, now everybody's doing them, but everybody's selling the stuff. So
Exactly. Yeah. I think Gable's way ahead of his time, but,
yeah, you had Gable and Brands, and I think a lot of that stuff also originated with J-Rob.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that J-Rob, was there during a defining period of Iowa's sort of development and ongoing. And you had sort of those assistant coaches that obviously Barry Davis was there as an assistant coach before he went off to Wisconsin. J-Rob was there before he went to Minnesota. And there was a lot of guys that I think helped bring Iowa to where it was. Obviously Gable was Gable, and he was definitely a huge part of that. But, me living sort of on the sidelines as a kid growing up watching that, how close I was to the program, gave me a cool little perspective of like, it wasn't just Gable. It was a lot of people that were helping out doing things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where I wanted to start it out. Cause obviously, people know about your college career and your storied high school career, but, when you started out as a youngster, where was that? Where was Kids Club? How was that whole pipeline working up until,
it was different because, I would say I didn't get serious about wrestling until probably my 6th or 7th grade year.
No, really?
I was involved with it,
Yeah.
and I did every sport. I tried every sport. I have 3 really good friends that I grew up with, Troy, Shane, and Marty, who didn't wrestle, and they always made fun of me like I sucked at everything else, like literally everything. But God forbid I put wrestling shoes on. It was just sort of a natural thing, and so we didn't have clubs in the sense that we have now with these super clubs and pay to play and travel and all that. Everything was very local. Like the big tournament that we would go to, we didn't have Tulsa Nationals. We didn't have these big things. I'm sure they did, but I didn't go to them. Our big thing was like Northern Plains Regionals. That was kind of our big tournament. But you had this sort of makeshift Hawkeye Kids Club program. So the old field house, they had a wrestling room that was upstairs, and the team would get done with practice, and Gable would be like, all right, you 3 guys go run the kids club. And so we never knew who we were going to get. One of the assistant coaches was always there. Mark Johnson might be there. J-Rob might be there. One of the main coaches would be there, help oversee it. But it could be Barry Davis. It could be Rico Chiparelli. It could be Harlan Kissler. Any given day up in that room with just little kids scrapping, rolling around. I was ADHD before ADHD was diagnosable. I mean, I got into wrestling because I got kicked out of gymnastics. A lot of people like your flexibility, your balance. I was doing gymnastics, and I basically got kicked out because I had 0 attention span. And even at those club programs, they're like, oh, we're working on this. Well, let's go put McGinness and whoever he's wrestling with in the corner, and they're going to go screw around for however long, right? And sort of doing the drill, but then sort of messing around. Play wrestling before play wrestling was a thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it started, is I got involved with that. Going to different tournaments. We didn't have medals. We had these little brackets. You either get a blue sticker for a win or a red sticker for a loss. Like you never want any red
stickers. Used to put you in the stands and pair you.
Yeah. And it was fun. And so, kind of just slowly getting involved in it. But, also spending time at the tournament, you'd wrestle your matches, and then in between the matches, you'd be wrestling 5, 6, 7 matches with the other kids. They'd always have breaks, and you're always messing around, screwing around. Now everybody's so serious. Like, God forbid, in between your matches, you got to be serious and recover and all this. I'm like, I'd wrestle 3 matches, but I'd probably wrestle 40 matches by the time I left the tournament, just kind of wrestling with my friends, whether it was kids. We always had Moscow Wrestling Club. Remember Moscow Kid Wrestling Kid back in Wilton? You had the Stanleys and Brisker and all those kids. We didn't have that club, so I was kind of I tagged along with them. Either they liked me or hated me. I don't know. I was still around with them all the time, and sort of just kind of getting to know the kids around the state, just scrapping day in, day out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started, and progressed on and continued to get better and continued to sort of get good coaching along the way.
Yeah. When did you start getting really, really serious about it? I mean, middle school, maybe early high school, or what?
probably middle school.
Yeah.
7th, 8th grade year. That's where I started wrestling freestyle. Didn't wrestle freestyle. I think my first freestyle match was 7th grade year.
Oh wow.
There's a high school coach in state of Iowa. His name is Dean Leaders. Okay. You had him and a few other kids from out in Underwood. It was when Underwood had some really good kids.
Yeah.
And I joke with Dean, Dean doesn't remember this, but like my first freestyle match, Dean teched me in like 30 seconds. And I was good still, but like I went out there in a freestyle match not knowing what I did, and he just teched me right away. And so I started doing that, and then my 8th grade year was kind of my big turn. That was when I went up to Northern Plains. I won Northern Plains, beat Chad Kraft, who went on to wrestle for Minnesota, multiple-time state champ, beat Aaron Soraki, who was a multiple-time nationally ranked. He wrestled for the Greco team for a number of years. And then my big nemesis in high school, at least in kids club nemesis, was Corey Kemmerer. Oh. And we had some battles back and forth. He was a PV, Pleasant Valley kid. Yeah. And, basically
I remember that.
Yeah, went up there and had a great tournament, and I was like, okay, I can be good. And, my season was done in middle school. I transitioned into wrestling with a high school team at City High when I was in 8th grade. And so I was in that room as an 8th grader already wrestling.
Okay. Yeah. So Kemmerer, that would have been your big.
Kemmerer, I think, beat me for AAU state either my 5th or 6th grade year in high school. And there was a few other kids. I mean, there's always those Council Bluffs kids, those Underwood kids. There was a kid, last name was Flynn. I think either Corey Flynn or something like that. I only won like one kids club state.
Wow.
Like I wasn't like this rock star person when I was a kid. I mean, I was wrestling, trying, learning along the way. Did I want to win? Absolutely. I'm a competitive person, but I didn't really start becoming really good until my 7th or 8th grade year.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
I won more. I mean, I might be downplaying. I won more matches than I lost. Right. And I was losing to.
But as far as like being the all-star kids. No,
I mean nowadays you got those. You get your Drayshawn Rosses that won 18 kids club states between folk style and freestyle, and they're part of good clubs. And I just I didn't necessarily have that. I had access to some. I would say I had access to some of the better training opportunities than most kids our age. Being around the IA room, my dad being very close to the IA wrestling program, from the get-go. But we just didn't have the structure that, your Seabolts or your Young Guns or your Izzies have now, where it's, you're teaching a system, you're wrestling good kids, you've got really high-level coaching across the board, not just technique, but the physical aspect, the mental aspect. I'm fortunate my daughter's wrestling now. She goes to TJ Seabolt, and, I look back and I'm like, man, if I had had something like that, I'd have been even better.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah, I didn't realize that. But because I know, obviously, getting into your your high school career, and we're talking, I mean, for those of you that need a reference, you were high school in what, 90? You'd been 90.
I graduated high school 93.
93. So okay.
So,
so you've been
90, 91, 92, 93. My freshman year was 103.
103. Because I remember you winning your state championship as a 103 pounder, and you being one of the 4-time state champs here, undefeated 4-time state champs. Remember watching you as a freshman, and I was like, dude, that dude is really good. I mean, really good. And then after that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if do you have a close match? I mean, from the next 3 years out?
My closest match was my 3rd match of my high school career, 4-2. Yeah. A kid out of Davenport North. And I think he was returning, I think he got 3rd at state. And then even the finals, I got taken down first by Luke Swarbick from Cedar Falls. He was a senior. There's not usually a lot of seniors at 103, so that was kind of an anomaly. But aside from that, at least in the high school, no, I mean, maybe 8-point matches, maybe 1 or 2 8-point matches there. I don't think I gave up a takedown after my freshman year.
Yeah. Because I know it wasn't, I mean, there wasn't, that was, like I said, when I watched you wrestle as a freshman, I was like, wow, that dude's really good. Yeah. And then as you kept coming on, it was like nobody could even get close. And this even includes you bumping up to wrestle Mark Ironside a couple of times, which was insane. Yeah. I mean, I was like, wow, we could finally see McGinness get challenged, and it really wasn't. I mean, and I love Mark's,
yeah.
but I mean, it was pretty impressive.
Well, I had to take him serious. I mean, it was one of those things, so my first 2 years, my coach was Clyde Bean. I'm sure you remember Clyde Bean, 100%. Old school. I mean, he coached my dad. He coached my dad and uncle. That's how long he'd been there, and a great coach for different reasons. And then my junior year, he stepped down in between my sophomore junior year, and Brad Smith left Lisbon. We had Lisbon. I mean, Brad Smith's famous. I mean, he's of all high school coaches in the country, he's in the top 1%. for what he's accomplished.
Easily.
And the kids that he's trained. I think he's probably got more 4-time state champs than anybody in the state of Iowa. And so he came in and, we started to develop a pretty competitive team. City High wasn't that great. Like we were good, but we weren't that great. We always got beat by Prairie. We always got beat by Jefferson. And he brought a different mentality and we started to look at these duels in a different way. It's like, we can beat these teams. But part of it was shifting some kids around. And so, I looked at him like, I can bump up to 35. And then my senior year, so I wrestled 25, I bumped to 30 my junior year against him and a few other kids. And my senior, I was wrestling 130, I bumped to 35 to wrestle him. And I actually bumped up to 40 for a few events.
Wow.
Yeah, so the first super MVC tournament that they have now was my senior year. I bumped up to 40 for that. And I wrestled Dusty Kufal, right? Ingram, Eric Coble, who won state the following year. Yeah. So I was up at 140 wrestling those kids.
Teammate of ours.
Yeah. So Brad and I'd look at that. We'd look at the lineup and be like, okay, I can bump to 40. Our 40 pounder can make 35. Our 35 pounder can make 30. And so they'd put me where logistically we thought I'd win the match and give our other guys a better chance to either get bonus points or also win.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was incredibly impressive high school career. I mean, it was, like I said, just in the fact that I remember when you were bumping up to wrestle Mark, and I mean, that was like the buzz around the state. And of course, the gyms would come in packed just for that match. I mean, it was pretty wild. And, but like you said, you had to take him serious because we're talking Mark Ironside here. You're not talking just some Joe Schmo that you're moving up for. So
it wasn't, everybody looks at it like, oh, it's Mark. It wasn't the version of Mark that we know now.
Yeah.
Like Mark in high school was good. He was beating most kids. Even Mark is like freshman year. But like once Mark got to be sophomore, junior, senior, something flipped in him. Like he started to understand like his style a little bit more. He understood like, hey, I was a brawler, but yet he had some tech. Like he, for a while, he tried to make himself, I believe, this is my opinion, he tried to make himself the next Tom or Terry Brands. And did he wrestle a lot like them? Yeah. But there's things that he did better and different. And so I think he finally started to understand that nuance of how to be the same go, but also within a different level of control.
Yeah.
His hand fighting is different. He was, where you might get a hard club by Tom or Terry Brands just to wake you up. Ironside was more clingy and pulley and just like you'd get done with a practice and your posterior chain, like the next day would hurt. Like you'd just be like, I got my head ripped on for a good amount of time. So yeah, was he good in high school? Absolutely. Yeah. He was a multiple-time All-American, multiple-time, 3-time state champ or whatever, but he jumped levels at Iowa. And a lot of that, I think, was having the training partners he did and the coaching that he had. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, definitely about that. Yeah. But now, you on the high school end, obviously you didn't just keep it here in Iowa. Obviously, you went and won cadets, won juniors, won worlds. What was your? You said you didn't really start out with a whole lot of freestyle. How did that transition go, like in your high school years? And it's like, I'm gonna wrestle some freestyle and see what happens.
So 8th grade year, I worked with Tom Lepick. So Tom had wrestled at Iowa. He'd also coached at West High for a number of years. He was in the reeler business at the time, so he kind of stepped in as my personal coach, kind of my first personal coach. And I started to focus on wrestling from when you have somebody Tom's brilliant. He's a brilliant businessman. He's smart, so smart. And the thing that he gave wasn't just the intensity and the craziness. He used to be a jockey. Like he doesn't have any cartilage in his nose. He would ride bulls. He was one of the most crazy people I was around. But he had me looking at wrestling from a different point of view, like tactical and understanding those things. And so that was kind of, as I started to transition in freestyle, understanding how big that piece of it was, he was integral in that. So he coached me for a year. He was my coach up at Northern Plains. And then, we came back, and then I'm not sure what happened where I then transitioned to work with Keith Moreland. And Keith, from a technical development standpoint, he's the best coach I've had, period. Wow. He's a better technical coach than I've ever been around in my entire life. Better than Gable.
I've heard that from a lot of people, how good he was.
Yeah. And if you look at some of the success that, Tom and Terry, that's because of Keith. Like there was things that you look at him, I'm like, okay, now I get why. Like, and then Keith was trained under J-Rob, and it was like the J-Rob high crotch. Like everybody shot really good post high crotches and control ties and inside ties, snap, sweep, singles. A lot of that came from the system that J-Rob had when J-Rob was there, and then that's kind of how I was trained. The other thing that Keith was really good at was putting me in situations and then just solving problems. We'd be wrestling live-ish, play wrestling, and just solve problems.
Really?
And that was really fundamental to how I got great scrambling ability, using my flexibility, using my body awareness, and all of those things. Freshman year, wrestled Fargo, was the last year. It was at UNI. Got third, I think, at 98. And then my sophomore year, I won cadets and juniors. I beat my juniors. I actually beat.
Oh, you competed in both?
Yeah,
really?
We could.
Oh.
And there were two different dates. It moved down to, it was the year, it was I think the only year it was in Warrensville, Missouri.
Yep, that's right.
Right? So it was in Warrensville, Missouri. It's 2 separate weekends. And so I won cadets, and then I won juniors. I beat Scott Schluchter, I think is his name. He was going for his 4th. And everybody assumed, like, he's going to win.
Yeah.
And, he shot in on a high crotch. I crotch lifted him, got him in turn, built a lead, and then he couldn't really come back. So yeah, that was kind of the first like big win. And then the following year I won World Team Trials, Junior World Team Trials, and then the year after that was the year I went down to Colombia and won Worlds my junior year.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So I think I was 16 when I won Junior Worlds.
Yeah, that's right.
So
wow, that's yeah. Because did you ever get into the Greco side at all?
No, I wish I did. I mean,
that's because
part of me is like, I wish I tried it.
That was one of the because, like I said, when people ask me who the best wrestler was, I said pure wrestler, 100%, no doubt. Jeff McGinness, he taught me a lot on top to begin with your near wrist stuff and all the bars and all that stuff. I mean, he taught me a lot there. He's incredible on his feet. He could scramble like no other before scrambling was even around, and he could throw.
Yeah.
I mean, where did you learn all the upper body stuff? Just
problem solving.
Yeah, really.
Trying stuff.
I remember you were working with one summer. You were working with Terry Brands.
Well, the year that Terry wrestled cross,
yeah,
I was trying to help teach Terry to beat cross because I could wrestle. I could emulate how cross wrestled. I was flexible. I was goofy. I did inside trips. I did a lot of things. And so the first thing we did with Terry is like, he's like, I got to stop getting thrown. I'm like, well, you need to learn how to throw. And so we were trying to teach him a back arch. One of the most, no offense, Terry, one of the most inflexible people I've ever met in my entire life. It was like there was no arch. It was just like Leaning Tower of Pisa falling down. And so we did that. And, I think most of my throws came from, so in high school, once we got into high school, I was seeking out training opportunities. And this was when my first 2 years, Brad was still at Lisbon. You guys were coming over as well, remember? I remember you and your brother would come over because Zach Light was there, and you and your brother would have freaking battles with Zach. And that was when Ike Light was there.
Yep.
And Ike was really good upper body.
Yeah.
And so I think it was from there. And we spent some time working on throws and doing those things. No, my venture into Greco was very short-lived. Remember Casey Gillis?
Yeah.
So Casey was a Fargo champ.
He was good.
And so one summer we were screwing around. It might have been his freshman or sophomore year before he tore his ACL. He's like, let's wrestle Greco. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Not a big deal. Like, I'm good. I can figure this shit out. And so we're on our feet. We're doing goes. I'm holding my own. I know how to throw. I know how to block. A couple times I might have had some leg fouls. But he's like, all right, now we're going top bottom. I'm like, not a big deal. I can stop a gut wrench. Ain't going to happen. He picked me up 4 or 5 times and spiked me. Like, I didn't know how to defend a lift. Like good Greco guys can lift you, and you're moving, you're trying. And I'm like, never again. Like, not doing this. And he kind of, shitting and grinning. Because Casey, again, is one of those kids that, like if he wanted to be great, he would be great. Yeah. And, he had that ability. But when he tore his ACL, things changed. Yeah. I was one of those things that I don't know if he ever recovered physically or mentally from it. But, he taught me like how good Greco kids are. Yeah. I look back and I'm like, I wish I would have wrestled Greco. We're toying around with the girls here. One of the things that we look at is headlocks and underhooks hooks and throws. Really? It's not as big of a deal in men's wrestling, but it still is on the women's side and the collegiate side. There's a local Greco former world team member from Serbia or something like that helps out. Coach Emma, who's my assistant coach, is really good friends with him and his wife. We might, like, preseason have a designated Greco day for our women, during our preseason. So we're toying around with it. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, I can teach an arm throw, I can teach a headlock, I can teach defense, but those guys, it's a different level. And the Greco guys, I mean, they're some of the most crazy, goofiest people I've ever met at the high level. Those guys are nuts. Yeah. Like Joe Warren, I ran into Joe. I wrestled. Actually, I was Joe's camp counselor one year at the red flag camps.
Oh, really?
And I ran into Joe out at the OTC. He comes up and is like grabbing me, wanting to wrestle. I'm like, get off of me, dude. I'm not that stupid. Like you want to wrestle freestyle? Let's go. But if you're going to try to convince me to wrestle Greco, I'm not that dumb. So I've gotten a lot of wiser in my old age.
Yeah, those. I mean, Greco is all straight out. Like it's hand fighting and fighting gut wrenches. I mean, those two of the hardest things you can do. Hand fighting. Yeah, absolutely. Because like there's no break of contact.
It's so physical.
Yeah.
Their level of hand fight. I get tired watching them. I thought we used to hand fight hard at Iowa with some of the drills that we did. Their level of hand fighting makes me tired watching it, even if I look back at the day when we would hand fight. Mm-hmm. So.
No, I totally agree. I mean, that Greco it's just a whole different sport. It really is.
It is. Yeah. And I think luckily there's a little Greco movement. There's some good coaches. God, what's his name up in Wisconsin that I watch, and I watch his podcast. He's like if you're wrestling Greco, don't go to college. Stout is his name.
Oh, okay.
Something wrestling, whatever. And I watch his stuff because I love some of the stuff that he teaches. And there's some kids that are coming up in the Greco scene that I think are now going to hopefully have this next revolution of your Dennis Halls and things like that will sort of spark that Greco movement. Because
I hope so.
I think there's no reason we're good at women's wrestling or we're good at men's freestyle. We should be good at Greco.
I agree. So. I really hope so. I mean, really, it's the way our system is set up. From a collegiate perspective, and then just basically just the normal trajectory. It's just so hard because it's so foreign to the folk style side, and the folk style side obviously eats up. I mean, I don't know how many percentage of coaches that only know folk style. Yeah, and that's the thing. And a lot of them have trouble coaching freestyle, which is somewhat similar to folk style, but you throw them in a Greco.
What if they changed men's collegiate wrestling to freestyle? How would you feel about that?
I would like it. I would like it. I would like, because I like freestyle. Yeah. I mean, I do, but I get it from a purist perspective.
You'd have to do it across the board.
Across the board. Yeah.
Like high school and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And there's purists who are like, I read the forums all the time, and even with the women's wrestling, we get pushback of like, it's so dumb that women are freestyle. They don't wrestle freestyle in high school. I'm like, there's some states. New York is adopting it as and there will be more for sure. And then you have this movement, like there's not enough referees, there's not enough coaches. Like we can teach referees, we can teach coaches. And then there's that whole like, but you're allowed to spike somebody on your head and they're going to get hurt. I'm like, yeah, in folk style, you can tear somebody's arm off too.
Absolutely.
How many rotator cuff injuries are there in folk style because arm bars are left to go too far? And so, if they started over again, like they did kind of what they did with women's freestyle in college, it probably would be freestyle. Yeah. So I don't know.
I would, like I said, I would love it because I love freestyle. I think freestyles. I just love freestyle. I love watching freestyle. I just love what it's about. But it'd be tough. It's gonna be tough. It would be a tough transition.
We're still dealing with on the women's side. I mean, again, there's some purists that are still pushing. They want NCAA is never going to go back. Like on the women's side, NAI, they're never going to go back. But there's some club. You have the National Collegiate Wrestling. I think the club scene, obviously, their folk style as well. It's like you don't have to wrestle freestyle. You can come here and do that. And so there's still some opportunities for the girls that don't want to wrestle freestyle. But I tell girls that window where you can go to a top tier wrestling college on the women's side and never wrestle freestyle until you get there, that window's closing.
Yeah.
One of our best girls, Keely, from East Buchanan, I think she never wrestled freestyle for us. She never wrestled freestyle in high school.
Yeah.
She won Pan Ams last year.
Wow.
Like she was U23 or U20 Pan Am champ.
Yeah.
And so, can you do it? Sure. But that window is quickly closing.
Yeah, I agree. Here, hold on 1 second. Let me just.
We're good? Yeah. I didn't know if you need the lights back on. I forget the motion detector.
It's actually even better. I like this look better.
I was wondering, they went off. I was like, uh-oh.
No, that's good. Let me just make sure that.
Yep. Yeah.
It'll turn off again. It'll be all right. But it's great because you mentioned the Light Brothers and everybody back in those. That was one of the most fun things that I had sitting down with Ironside and just recollecting our old high school days. I remember in high school, it was fun. I think it was my senior year. It had to be my senior year. It's my senior year. My brother's junior year. Mark was. He was your year.
Mark and I were the
same year.
I think
so. You two would have been sophomores.
Was I the same? Your brother? You were 2 years older than me, right?
Yes, 2 years older.
And your brother's 1 year old.
Yep. And then Matt Ironside was my age too. So those two, Jeff, obviously, we were at Prairie, and there had been a rumor that you were going to come to Prairie the next year. And Ironside's
there was a bunch of rumors, man.
We're like, yeah. I said, you guys should come too, and we'll have all five of us.
The big rumor was that I was going to move to Dowling.
Oh, really?
So they recruited me after my freshman year. Remember, this was back in the day.
Yeah,
so you had Dara. So Dara actually coached here after Dowling, and then it was it Coach Gray?
Yeah, Coach Gray, Ron Gray.
Yeah, Coach Gray. But remember, because you'd have kids like Jason Deegan.
Yep.
He was from Carlisle. He won state his freshman year. Then the next year he shows up at Dowling. Mm-hmm. You had all these kids like they were openly recruiting. Like they were straight up like, hey, come here, we'll get you free tuition sort of deal. And I had family. My uncle, who I was really close with, lived in Ankeny. They're like, you can come here, live with him, and go to Dowling. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not that kid. Now it's more normal for these kids to you have the Wyoming seminaries that they move on, or hey, I'm going to move here and do that. And just in my day and age, I was young, I was stupid, I was immature, I was young. Mm-hmm. So I didn't turn 18 until like June after my senior year.
Oh, wow.
And so now these kids, they hold them back a year here. They're more mature, and they're more exposed. They get cameras in their face a lot younger, and they get to know. And I would have never been able to do that. Living separate from my family wouldn't have been a thing that I would ever thought about. But yeah, there was rumors every year, like he's going to transfer here, he's going to go here, he's going to do that. And so one year I actually got in trouble at City High with it was my junior year, when first year that Brad came in, and we did some stupid stuff to a freshman. I mean, freshman was kind of running his mouth, and so we decided to tape him up. And so they were going to kick us and a few of the other kids out of off the team. I'm like, I'll transfer to West High. Like I'll transfer. And I actually lived in West High's district, so I would have been exempt from the transfer rule. And so I'm like, I'll just go to West High then.
Wow.
And so, but we fixed it. We made amends with the kid. I mean, the kid kind of had it coming a little bit, but it was definitely a hazing incident that we probably should have thought better of, being a high school boy, of what we did and it wasn't to the level that some stuff happens. I mean, we just basically taped him up and let him sit there for a few minutes. So
that was big back in the day, because that went on. I mean, I remember taping people.
I
probably got taped up too.
I know I did
as a freshman. I'm sure I did.
God, who was it? We had Casey. God, who was it? My freshman year. Yeah, I mean, there was always some sort of initiation on programs, and I was a freshman wrestling varsity, and that was the way to become one of the guys sort of deal. Nowadays, you can't do any of that.
Oh, nowadays,
I would have definitely been kicked off the team in current environment. So, but no, you learn. I mean, you make dumb decisions, and you learn from them, and you move forward. And it was one of those things, like, it scared the crap out of me that I might lose my ability to wrestle my junior year. And luckily I'd matured quite a bit by then. I think having Clyde Bean when I had Clyde Bean was a good thing. Yeah. Because he had Clyde, and we had Garl McLaughlin. And those guys wouldn't take anything. He was like old school merit. Both of them were very strict in what they did. Didn't teach me tons of wrestling, but they taught me how to be an adult. They taught me how to be a leader. As a 14-year-old kid who was kind of the guy on the team, how to be like, okay, we don't expect you to be the vocal leader, because you can't do that, but you can lead by what you do and what you show. And so that was kind of the things that they helped develop in me, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a teacher at Tell for 10 years after I graduated in Iowa, and of course been coaching ever since. And all kids everybody's gonna make mistakes. Yeah, coaches make mistakes too. Everybody does, and it's that fine line of like really punishing them and really to where it's gonna affect or just kind of helping them through it, work it to where they mature out of it. There's always that fine line with that, so it's really interesting. But that's a bit, I mean, it happens, and things.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does stupid stuff.
The kid actually ended up being one of our best guys on the team, and we figured out. I mean, he was a very cocky kid. We channeled it. Yeah, it was like, hey, you can be this way, but don't be this way with us. Yeah. Like, we're here to help you. And so he channeled it into being, one of a really good kid for City High back in the day as a freshman. And that was when we were good at, like, we won state our junior year. Yeah. Like, as a team. And he was a freshman. Like, to have a freshman that came in who didn't have tons of wrestling experience step up and get us some points and win some duels and all those things. I wouldn't say that helped the situation, but I think it helped our relationship with him understanding, okay, this is your place and this is where we want you, sort of deal. But it was also it was a dumb thing that we did.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, it is. That was a while ago. But wrestling in Iowa high school wrestling, I try to explain it, like the atmosphere and like the importance of. And when I talked to Mark about this, talked with Schwab, he's the same thing, because he grew up, Osage, Iowa. That's there and nothing more wrestling crazy in Osage, but. I mean, it's hard to kind of put into words and to explain like the importance of wrestling here. And you being who you were in high school, I mean, looking back at your high school years, I mean, what's like the biggest things that kind of come to mind as far as like the unique time of your life when it was? I mean, being an undefeated four-time state champ in Iowa, I mean, with the just like I said, the level of importance that we have here.
I got it, but I also didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little bit oblivious to it. You know, one City High wasn't a wrestling school. Mm-hmm. It isn't, and it never was. It wasn't a Prairie. It wasn't an Osage. It wasn't football and basketball were our main sports. That's what we were known for. So like, while it was important and it was great that we were doing good, we were never celebrated the same way as some of those other sports, which honestly I think for me was good. Mm-hmm. It kept me humble. It kept me like, hey, you know, I want to continue to improve and make our team better and do these things. You know, the big thing, it didn't really dawn on me the significance of where I'd gotten to until like right before my senior year. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, I haven't lost a match. Mm-hmm. Like nobody's really been competitive with me in the state of Iowa since my freshman year. And even then it wasn't that close. But I also had, like I said, my friends who weren't wrestlers. Mm-hmm. They kept me very humble. Mm-hmm. Like my best friends, even in college, weren't necessarily guys on the wrestling team. I had great relationships with them, but I had friends who weren't wrestlers. And so when I was away from wrestling, I was away from wrestling to let my mind reset. I wasn't the eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling type of person. Right. And if I tried to be that way, that's what happened my junior year. Mm-hmm. I tried to change who I was my junior year in college, and it blew up on me. Really? Yeah. I mean, I started to shut out all the other things. I started to get uber serious with everything that I was doing. And not that I wasn't serious, but I wasn't serious to the level of some of those Iowa guys. I wasn't Mark Ironside, Doug Schwab, Tom and Terry Brand serious. I love to wrestle. I love to train, but I'm going to run through a brick wall 80 million times, train because that's what Gable says type of person. I'm going to get better. I'm going to understand the sport and I'm going to train and compete at the highest level. And so, you know, in high school, it didn't dawn on me until I think my senior year where it was like, okay, I'm at a level. And then it kind of scared me a little bit. My junior year, I think it was my sophomore and my junior, I started working with a sports psychologist too. And so Maury Adams.
That's right. You
so Maury had actually worked with Tom and Terry and Troy Steiner too. Mm-hmm. So he'd worked with a few of the Iowa guys. He was a close family friend, and you know, we did hypnosis. We did a lot of things that just to kind of, I had to be calm when I wrestled. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't a hype guy. I wasn't out there to go beat you up. Like I'd be physical. I'd wrestle hard, but I wasn't the, you know, full metal, all gas, no brakes, choose violence type of person. I was physical and I was violent sometimes, but violence for me in a match was different. Mm-hmm. It was an explosive double leg. Yes. It was a hard club to whatever. It was violence with an intent to score versus violence for the sake of violence. With some of those Iowa guys, it was violence for the sake of violence. Yes. And I still say this now with some of my girls, and as I do it, I look around the room to make sure the athletic director's not in there because I don't want to lose my job. I say, choose violence. Mm-hmm. Wrestling's a combat sport. First and foremost, it's a combat sport. And so that was when it started to dawn on me. And then, but yet, because I had friends that weren't around wrestling and because I had people in my life that would bring me back to normal, it quickly went away. Mm-hmm. You know, the pressure of the situation quickly went away. It's like, just get better. Mm-hmm. Just get better. I was an objectively driven person, but yet I was able to turn off the objective side and focus on the process. Like I had goals. I want to win a national champion. I want to go undefeated. I want to do all these things. And when you get so wrapped up in that and don't turn it off, that's when the pressure can get to you. Mm-hmm. Where if you're, hey, I want to perform I want to have the best match I possibly can. I want to score points. Mm-hmm. Wins take care of themselves. Hey, I want to just get better every single day. National championships take care of themselves. And so, you know, I always ask recruits, you know, what are your goals in wrestling? And it's a setup question to see if they're objective or process driven, and then can we get them back to the process side? You know, again, also having fun. Yeah. You know, it's meant to be fun. Yeah. When I wrestled the best was when wrestling was fun and enjoyable in my life. My junior year in college, wrestling wasn't fun. I about quit. Mm-hmm. I literally about didn't come back my senior year. Yeah. That's what a lot of people don't know. I mean, Gable and I had a lot of heart-to-hearts after my junior year, and you know, it was a decision that we made collectively to redshirt in between my junior and senior year. And I was on the team, but I wasn't always there. Like he was like here, but I'm not there. And like he wanted me to sort of take a step away and be like, he needed me to decide to come back on my own accord. So
That's pretty. That's really. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all about Gable because he's.
Oh, yeah.
Just, I mean, he's just. I mean, you talk about a coach. He's the ultimate definition of a coach. But knowing that, because I do remember, because obviously we were there for 3 years together, and there would be, I mean, there was this like 99% of what was going on, and then there was, Jeff kind of had his thing going on over here, and I didn't really care. I mean, I was there. I wasn't, and that was just the way it was. But it was such a smart coaching. That's a smart coaching from Coach Gable. Allowing you to really kind of do what you do and to do how you do and let you set yourself up for what's going to make you successful. So it was interesting to see at the time it worked.
The pressure of the situation, there's some weight management issues my junior year, right? Yeah. I'd gotten big. I was already a big 26 pounder. Keep in mind, I wrestled 30 in high school, didn't really cut a lot of weight, but I was jumping up to 35 and 40 some days. And so I was probably off season chilling about 140, right? Yeah. And so cut into 26. Yeah. Back in that day, people were like, that's not that much. Well, I hated to cut weight. Yeah. I hated it. Like that's what ruined the sport for a lot of people. And so I did it right my junior year or my sophomore year, went undefeated. And then I started to do the math. I'm like, I didn't lose a match my sophomore year. I'm like, I could finish my career never losing a match again. I could be one of the best people ever to come through this room. Like I could be a 3-time national champion. There had never been a 4-time national champion. I only lost a few matches my freshman year. And that started to spin out of control. Right. And so I started to get wrapped up in the objective side of the sport, and it just became not fun. And, there might've been, certainly, who knows? I mean, people say there might've been some self-sabotage in there too. Like, hey, let's get even bigger. And I think good and bad, I think I cut 16.5 pounds in a day and a half for Midlands.
Wow.
And had the best tournament I ever had in my entire life. In my entire career, period.
Really?
Pin tech fall my way through Midlands. This was when Midlands was
good. Yeah.
And I had the number 2, 3, and 5 ranked guy in the country at my weight. Pin tech fall cutting to 126. And so I was like, hey, that's no problem. I can cut 16.5 pounds in a day and a half and do this, right? Yeah, you do it once, fine. You do it over the course of the year. All of a sudden, if you go back and look at the poster that year, I'm side by side with Lincoln. Yeah. I look as big as Lincoln. Lincoln was our 42, 50 pounder. Yeah. You look at a picture of me at the end of the year, I look like our 18 pounder. Like all my muscle mass had just gone away. And so it was a challenging experience for me, a humbling experience because I'd never been there, done that, but if you look back, it's like, oh man, what are the matches it was tired of my junior year, not listening to the coaches, not doing the things I was supposed to be doing, trying to change who I was to become who I wasn't. That's, you got to stay true to who you are. And I think a lot of that was driven by, wanting to be one of because I grew up watching the Iowa greats. Yeah. Like I grew up watching those guys and I wanted to be there. I wanted to be that guy. So, yeah,
well, like I said, definitely one of the Iowa greats, no question there. I mean, your freshman year, it was funny because I was literally just watching a little like 10, 15 minute clip. What Gable was talking on Flow Wrestling. This might have been like 5-6 months ago or whatever. But it was about Joe Williams. They asked about Joe Williams. And he was incredible talent. I would not have pulled him out of red shirt as a true freshman. Him and Jeff McGinness, I would not have pulled them out of red shirt if I didn't think they were going to win. We had just booked this, and I was like, well, there we go. I got to get that because I know that was the mindset back then because, like I said, you're a true freshman, and this was back when true freshmen usually just redshirted.
All of them. I think
very, very few.
Lincoln was the only. Yeah. Lincoln, and then maybe Bart Chelzovic. Either Bart or Ryland. One of them they wrestled as a true freshman too. I can't remember, but it was so rare. Yeah. My funny Gable story was that not only did they pulled Joe. So they pulled me first. They pulled Joe Williams at Oklahoma State against Pat Smith's senior year. So for so long I'm like, what the was he thinking? So finally, this was like 5 years ago at one of our reunions. Yeah. It was downstairs. Gable was wandering around, and I think it was Weber was there, Euchre was there, Joe was there, and I was there. We were talking, and subject came up, and Euchre's like, "We should just ask him." It's like, what the hell were you thinking? Against Pat Smith at Oklahoma State? Like, this is back in the day where you had that damn cowboy shooting off the damn guns. It was loud as hell. And I loved those. I actually liked wrestling away. more than I like. I liked wrestling at home. Don't get me wrong. I loved our fans, but I loved the hostile crowds.
Yeah.
Joe did not like hostile crowds. Like that wasn't Joe's thing. And Gable's just like kind of smirked. He's like, I thought he was going to win because I thought he could beat him. I'm like, from a pure ability standpoint, yeah, for sure. Because Joe was Joe.
Yeah.
But not from a fifth year Pat Smith senior level.
I know.
I mean, that guy was tough as hell. So yeah, I mean, the plan was we were going to redshirt. Oklahoma State ended up with a loaded team. And Gable being Gable didn't want to take a year off. Mm-hmm. And he looked at the lineup and said, okay, let's bump Hogan. Hogan was wrestling 26 up to 34. Let's put me in at 26. Let's, Weber cut down. Remember that?
The 42.
So Joe wins the wrestle off. I've never seen somebody like do what Weber did.
Crazy.
I mean, because he was kind of a lot of way. We had Mike Mena. We had a good team, but we were really, really young. Mm-hmm. We were really young that year. And I think it was the year that Oklahoma State might have had one of their best teams ever. I mean, you had so many good guys on that. Perlers were on that team. Yep. Who else was one of the Perlers? The other one wrestled at Nebraska. But we ended up losing. But Gable was like, I'm not going to take a year off. That's not what we do here. Yep. So it opened my eyes up. Yeah. Plan was for me to redshirt, and we got halfway through the year, and he called me in his office. My dad's there, and said, "Hey, we want to pull your red shirt." Like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, God and Gable. Yeah. Like, that's who you listen to. Yeah. Right? God and Gable. In that order. Yeah. Sometimes switch, but mostly that in that order. And if Gable looks at you and says, "Hey, I think you're ready," you're ready. I wasn't. I wasn't ready. He talked me into, I wouldn't say he talked me into the decision. I'm glad I did because it made me who I am. But in the same respect, I hadn't been training that year like I should have. I was pre-med when I came in, and so I was taking calculus for the biological sciences. But I had a pre-med track my freshman year, and the goal was I was going to crank all those things out, and then come my sophomore year have most of my hard early pre-med stuff done. It's like, well, I guess I'm changing majors. So dropped calculus, dropped all these things, ended up psychology, communication studies, which is like, do you regret it? No, that's how I met my wife. Yeah. Like that, yeah. My then girlfriend, now wife. And so, she was a psych major, so I followed her around all the classes. Yeah. She swam there. So it was, things happen for a reason. So
yeah. Well, it turned out all right, though.
It absolutely turned out well. I've met her in rhetoric, actually. So she walked in. So we had rhetoric. We walked in. We had the early morning rhetoric, and she walked in after post-workout. She had like your Iowa sweats on. With the and just reeked of chlorine, right, as a swimmer. Straggly. I'm like, I like that person. Because she's like, everybody's like, your daughter's crazy. She's exactly like you. I'm like, you haven't met my wife, have you? Like, my wife is we have different levels of crazy, but my wife has a crazy level that I'm just like, it's scary. She watched serial killer podcasts. And so if I ever go missing, she did it.
He did.
If I ever go missing, and by the way, you'll never find the body because she listens to all those things, and so it's
those swimmers, man. I tell you, you have to be a certain level of crazy.
And she was around all the time. Jamie Strauss, at the time, she was always around us all the time. Came to all this stuff.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And then we ended up with a lot of guys on the team ended up dating swimmers because I was their wingman. Like, hey, hook me up with another swimmer, and I'm like, okay.
Dude, you have to, but. I mean, for a sport that you have to spend so much time underwater and not breathe, you got to be crazy. My opinion.
Dude,
I can't swim. Dude, I doggy paddle.
One year we were out at the res for one of our post parties, and so we were out swimming, and somehow it broke into like one of those hand fighting sessions. Mm-hmm. Okay. And my wife's like, I'll hand fight with them in the water. Right. And so Lima was hand fighting with her, and slowly Jamie starts going deeper and deeper and deeper. And so she pulled him out in the deep end where he couldn't touch, and she about drowned him. And he's like, your wife is crazy. I'm like, yeah, she could hold her breath for probably 4 or 5 minutes and be fine. You're going to die. So use your brain a little bit here. So, I mean, it was, we had some great times back then with those guys, and we had some good people on the team that, it wasn't just about the guys that were there. Mm-hmm. We had some guys that are going to push us. We had some guys that are going to hold us accountable. You talked about those one-on-one goes. Yep. They knew their role on the team to push us and make us equally crazy. Mm-hmm. And then we had I remember somebody tried to start a fight with me one time at the bar. Mm-hmm. Dude, Mike Manganiello picked this guy up and choke slammed him, and then I think broke the kid's trachea or something like that. It's like, you don't mess with Jeff. Yeah. It's like, okay, great. I have to fight my own fights apparently. So I'm done and done.
I talked to Manganiello. I talked to him probably. I mean now because he's doing our fundraising, and then he's starting this mindset app too. He's involved in a couple of different things in Chicago. So I've gotten chances to catch up with him in the last probably 2-3 months, and he's the same old.
He hasn't changed. I talked to him not that long ago. He was doing some importing during COVID of some things, and And so he called me, and he sounds exactly the same.
Oh yeah, no, he's awesome. Yeah,
he was calling me for legal advice. I'm like, I don't know anything about that part of legal, like tax and trademarks and all that. It's like, I can't remember what it was. It was just like, what did you do now? I'm like, okay, at least it's not criminal. You're fine.
Right.
But it was, we had a hard group of guys. Yeah. That we trained hard. We had fun too.
Oh,
it's like sort of like, I remember Royce always had that like. Roller coaster analogy. Mm-hmm. It's like you got to go down before you go back up, and so Royce might have taken the off season downtimes to the extreme. It's like we're training hard at this level, hard, and it's like summertime. Now it's time to party and have fun and some of those things. Nowadays, everybody is so damn serious.
Oh man,
it's like none of the kids drink ever during the off season, which I wish. Looking back, it's like you question like, okay, what would have changed? What would have been different? But there's the sports science of everything is. Evolved. The nutrition side, the seriousness of it, the watching film. You couldn't get film on anybody. Now you can get film on everybody. Mm-hmm. So there's all the scouting that takes place. It's a different thing. People always ask. I have this argument with Randy Lewis all the time.
Yeah.
And Randy is of the belief he can beat anybody in any generation. Like he's like, he goes, I'd tech him. I'd tech him. I'd give him my leg and I'd tech him. And so like I look at him like, man, I don't know, man. Some of these kids anymore, coming out of high school, just like Bo Bassett goes to the U.S. Open, right? He's a high school kid. All these kids, the younger generations, because they've been training since they could walk. They've got better coaches. They've got better nutrition. They've got better workout partners than we always had. And so I love it, but it's also scary because these kids are maybe losing some opportunities to like, I played tennis. I played football. I did all these. I played soccer. Again, I sucked at everything, but yet I was still able to compete at a high level. So I wonder sometimes, like, is it too soon? And it's no different. I mean, my kids played soccer, and all they did was play soccer because that's what you do. You pay a club, and they develop into soccer players. Now, maybe they should, like my middle one, probably should have been a swimmer. He's built like a swimmer. He looks like a swimmer, but he played soccer. So I don't know. And my daughter played soccer, and now she wrestles. So with her, it's been a switch.
Mm-hmm. How about the 2-time national champ, 3-time All-American Jeff McGinness? Could he All-American? He'd still do it this stage.
I'd like to think so. Yeah? I'd like to think so. I mean, scrambling. I was a good scrambler then. It's from, I was, there's only a few.
What would be really interesting, not to jump in there, but knowing the fact that, like I said, because, we worked out once a week. Once every 2 weeks. And knowing how good of a wrestler you were back then without the ability to look up techniques on flow wrestling, to go to these high-level camps, to be in RTCs from day one. I mean, just all the stuff that you could do as a high school kid. It's almost scary to me just because of how flexible you were back then, too, and how good a scrambler you were before all this information came out on how good you would have been at it with all these different resources.
But yet I still had – that's the thing I tell people. If you put half or more of the kids in my environment that I had growing up, with the parents I had and the opportunities that I had, most of them would probably end up the same place I did. I truly believe that. Really? I'm not an incredibly gifted athlete. My 40 time is probably slower than most. My mile time, God forbid, like I ran with the heavyweights. And it wasn't because I was tired or lazy. It's just I'm straight up slow. Yeah. My 2-yard dash, I'm really good at a 2-yard because that's what wrestling was. I had trained my body to do these things. I had flexibility, I had mat awareness, all that. But I think that came from just wrestling so many matches with so many different people in a non-structured way. So a lot of the Hawkeye stuff was just unstructured messing around. We had technique for maybe a half hour of it. The rest was before and after practice, just kind of wrestling. My parents didn't always pick me up on time. Well, I wasn't the only one. And so what do we do? Well, we're just going to scrap for another 30, 40 minutes with some really great coaches. Were they teaching systems in the way that clubs teach systems now? No, but I didn't need systems. Like I don't wrestle. I was never a systematic wrestler. I wasn't I did a lot of different things. I did a lot of different things well, because I was put in a situation where I could try and learn a lot of different things. Inside trips, arm throws, sweep single, knee pulls, snap downs. If you can score a snap down, let's do that. In the current environment, I think the advantage that I would have or at least the level playing field that I would have is I always prided myself on being the smartest wrestler. Mm-hmm. Like I beat some wrestlers that were better wrestlers than me, better athletes than me. Mm-hmm. You know, if you look back, Sanchiro Abe, better wrestler than me, period. Like straight up. Not as good on the mat. Mm-hmm. So where are we going to wrestle most of the match? Right? Dwight Henson, better athlete than I was. Was I going to beat him in the first period? Hell no.
Yeah.
Can I drag this match on, slow him down a little bit, you know that I'm up a point because he's not going to take bottom and I'm always going to take bottom. And so being smarter. Now, I was probably a better wrestler than 99% of the kids I wrestled. Mm-hmm. Sure, but yet always trying to be the smarter wrestler. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Should I have won my senior year against Casey Cunningham? Maybe not. Mm-hmm. Casey, our senior year he'd beat me early in the year. He was probably the better wrestler and had probably 10 pounds on me. Because that was the year that,
you bumped up. Yeah.
I bumped up 42.
Yep.
But then 2 guys died cutting weight.
That's right.
So 42 becomes 49. 49. I weighed 146 dripping wet.
Wow.
So I was cutting. When I bumped up, I'm like, I'm never cutting weight again. That was the conversation I had with Gable. I'm like, that about killed me. That made me want to hate the sport. And so I was wrestling 42, weighing maybe 146. Cunningham the following year won it at 57.
Wow.
And I
totally forgot.
He was so tall, and I wrestled a smarter match.
Yeah.
In the finals. Yeah. Like he was a better wrestler probably that year, but I wrestled a smarter match. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's in current environment. Scrambling, probably kids are going to beat me, even though I was a good scrambler. If I was training under current sports sciences, yeah. Mm-hmm. But if training under old sports sciences, kids don't get tired anymore. Yeah. 2 reasons kids don't get tired anymore. Yeah. Sports sciences are better. We understand VO2 max, we understand training levels. More isn't always more. Mm-hmm. Like for us at Iowa, it's like, how do we get in shape? We train more. Mm-hmm. Now it's like quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. Less is more. And then the nutrition side. Kids are getting in body scale scans. They know where they're at. They not only know their skeletal muscle mass, their body fat, they know like inflammation and water, and they're meeting with nutritionists. They're talking about all these things. Water loading. Man, God, I wish we had water loading. Hey, drink more water to lose weight.
That's the one thing that blows me away, that I'm like, that is so, just even like my times I was coaching, in college, because you were still using the same type of weight cutting systems. And now you just start drinking more water.
It's like, how did you learn to cut weight at Iowa? I watched the guys who were there.
Yeah.
So you had plastics, right? Mm-hmm. So first you break a sweat, you go in the sauna, make sure your sweat's going, you put the plastics on in the sauna, and then you put the sweats on over them. Yeah. Then you hop on a bike and you do 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off for as long as you need to lose weight. That's how you learn to do it. And nobody told us any other way to do it. It wasn't like coaches were in there saying, all right, let me teach you how to cut weight. And, we still have kids now that are doing it that way. I've seen it on the girls' side. I've seen it on the guys' side, because guess what? Their dad wrestled in high school, and that's how we did it back in the day. My daughter goes to Eka Nutrition. Like, she gets in body scale twice a week or twice a month. She does water loading. She does all these things. Her body fat's down to 15% as a girl.
Wow.
Like, that's nuts. And it's not because she measures everything. She's very scientific because her brain works the way mine does. But I'm like thinking, man, if I wish I would have, I thought I was in good shape and I had good body structure and all these things, like that would have been different. And all these kids now at the high level, they're all doing that. Yeah. All the best kids in the country, and then they all have sports psychologists. Everybody's like, "What's the magic pixie dust that Penn State has?" Who's the gray-haired lady that's in every photo, whose office is right off of the wrestling room?
Yeah.
It's their team sports psychologist. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand. Like, the mental side of it plays a key role.
Yeah.
So
because that's one of the old things that people, and the numbers fluctuate. It's 99% mental, or it's 90% mental, or sports whatever, and literally train maybe 2% of the time you're training mental.
Well, then everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. That's when we kind of started talking about this before, is like my experience with Gable is it was different for everybody. What made Gable as good as he was back in the day is he knew what each athlete needed, and he gave them that. He didn't give them more. He didn't give them less. And so what Mark needed was different than what I needed, which was clearly different with what like Mike Mena needed. Right. Like, we had some unique personalities on the team, and he also wasn't. Our core, we wanted to do 2 or 3 things really well. Ride hard, hand fight. Aside from that, how you get to scores is up to you. Like, those are the things that he focused on. And then, but from a technical standpoint, it was different for everybody. And in now day and age, you have so many people trying to teach systems, I think, which it can work. But if you look at the best wrestlers in the country right now, Penn State, you know what Cale focuses on?
Yeah. Scoring.
Scoring. But when he looks at a wrestler, can they change leads?
Yeah.
Can they change their lead foot? Are they comfortable leading both feet?
Yeah.
I was a dominant right foot wrestler. Nobody could. If you look at me wrestle now, I don't have a lead leg. Like I float, I change. I'm like, again, I wish I knew back then that I know now. It's like, do I get to go wrestle against these kids knowing what I know now, or knowing what I know then?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, if it's what I know now, I'm gonna give I get my old body,
right?
I get my old body, but I get my current brain. If I get my current brain and my old body, I'm gonna be competitive.
Yeah.
You know, if it's my old body and old brain, I'm gonna probably make some stupid mistakes like I did back in the day. So
yeah, for sure. You mentioned Abe. You guys, you mentioned Abe and Henson. Because Abe, you beat him for your first national championship.
So I wrestled him my freshman year, lost to him 3 times. And then my sophomore year, I wrestled him 3 times and beat him 3 times.
Because that dude was really good. You're right. I mean,
he won a silver medal for Japan.
Yeah, he was like crazy.
Crazy good on his feet. He actually, he beat me. So my sophomore year, he beat me on takedowns in the finals. He had 2 takedowns. I had 1. I still won the match.
Yeah.
So because again, you know, he wasn't that good on the mat. I always knew that he scored takedown first. I scored takedown second. He didn't escape. So that's a big, that late takedown right out. That's always a big thing. They tried their hardest to teach him to get out of legs. Now in today's age, he would have never had like I'd have the legs in for 20, 30 seconds. They call a stalemate. That was the rules back then. It's like, if you're not improving, now you throw the legs in, the period's over. They just let it, like you can ride an ankle for 2.5 minutes apparently, right? So even then, it's like he got a lot of free resets, but yet still couldn't get out. But he was tough. He was tough because on his so quick. I couldn't wrestle him in space. Like I knew I couldn't wrestle him in space. I had to be hands on. I had to physically be. If he was in space, he was going to score points. So
do you think would he be your? I guess your biggest rivalry in college, or maybe Henson?
Probably Henson more. I think I wrestled Henson more. I think I I wrestled both of them 6, 7, 8 times. And then I bumped to 42. 42, I wouldn't say I necessarily had probably Jason Davids from Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
He beat me the first time he wrestled. So I middle of my senior year, I tore my MCL. So I was wrestling Jamar Billman, who was freshman phenom, right? At Iowa, got it. He came out, he hit 3 slide bites on me in a row. I went collar tie, he slid me by.
Wow.
3 times in a row.
Really?
I look back, I'm like, man, I was really stupid. Like straight up, like one of the most. But came back. I was leading. He took me down to tie the match with 5 seconds left. If you go back and look, I was in a shin whizzer, and he went in, and my knee gave way. And so I didn't know it at the time. After the match, I walked off. My entire knee was numb. For the balance of my senior year, except for Big Tens and Nationals, I wrestled with one of the big bionic braces. Wow. And so I was basically wrestling one-legged. And then got to Big Tens and Nationals, and I told the trainer, at this point, it doesn't matter. If I re-tear the rest of it, what does it matter if I can't wrestle? So basically took the brace off, wrestled, I think, the match before Big Tens just to verify, and then Big Tens and Nationals without the brace on. So I had a, I think, 80% tear of my MCL my senior year that I wrestled with. I mean, you didn't have a choice.
Wow.
So you just kind of go.
Yeah.
So.
Then ended up beating Cunningham in the
Cunningham.
finals.
We had I lost to, God, who did I lose to that year? I lost to Cunningham once.
Man, Casey Cunningham was good.
Yeah, dude. I lost to Cunningham that year, and then I lost to Steve Schmitz that year. Schmitz was in the bracket. Schmidt tore his ACL at Big 12s. So he wasn't, he was in the bracket, but he had torn his ACL. I wish I would have had. So we had probably one of the best minute goes of, John Smith kind of was that was probably the best minute of wrestling I've ever watched. Some good scrambles. He shot, I hit the corner, ended up with a cradle. And because I had seen Joe Williams do a Joe Williams thing in practice that week, I'm like, let's do what Joe did and try to do some real weird roll behind. Schmidt's arm pops out, and I get caught on my back and pinned. And I think that's the last match I wrestled in Carver. I might have been pinned the last match I wrestled in Carver. Oh, really? Yeah. We lost the duel because of it. Oh. And this is Jimmy's first year. Jimmy's first year.
Sure.
And Tom's assistant coach. And they weren't mad. They're like, why? I said, I thought I was going to pin him. I was going, okay, never mind then. Yeah. It's like blood in the water. It's like, well, do it right next time. Don't do some dumb stuff that you saw Joe. Joe could do things that only Joe could do. And so, I got pinned, but I never got a chance to avenge that match. I lost to, I think that's the only think I lost a couple matches that year. I think that's it. So I lost to Cunningham at Midlands, and then I lost to Schmidt. There might have been one other. Oh, Jason Davids I lost to. But then I avenged. I think I beat Davids 3 times that year, so I wrestled him 4 times.
Yeah.
And the other ones weren't close.
Yeah. You mentioned Joe Williams. I mean, people, it was just, and I love Joe. You were his roommate, and I love him. He's such a cool dude. He was so good at wrestling. It was like that talent, explosiveness, freak athlete, but he was tough. I mean, he was an extremely hard worker, and he had it all, man. That dude was he was so much fun to watch wrestle.
The days the earth stood still and everybody stopped wrestling were the days that him and Lincoln would wrestle.
Oh man, you ain't kidding.
And they had some and Lincoln hated to lose.
Yeah.
And Lincoln was equally athletically gifted. They would have some scrambles that just, and remember those days when Gable would be like, take breaks when you need breaks?
Yeah.
And it's like you might wrestle for 10 minutes and you take a break. They'd just keep going.
I know.
Neither one of them would tap out.
I know.
Ever. And they would just keep going. Now, usually it would be Joe.
Yeah.
But there was days that like Lincoln would just be like frustrated, be like, all right, I got to take a break.
Yeah.
But you'd have some of those crazy matchups with them. And then, yeah, you had, God, when like, I remember when Ironside would wrestle Tom Brands or Terry Brands, when Tom, they were graduated, and then you had Schwab coming in, and Schwab was good, but he wasn't great when he got there.
Yeah.
Like he was like a bull in a china shop, like didn't know where to point it.
Yeah.
Like, and once he started to figure stuff out, some of the battles that they had with those kids, which is good. And actually somebody who I love to watch wrestle and, who was my roommate, and probably one of the best athletes ever to wrestle at Iowa that nobody knows about. He played football here, won a national championship here. Corey Christensen.
Yeah.
3-time state champ.
Yep.
From Winterset, Iowa. Was my roommate.
Yeah, Corey was good.
Yeah. My sophomore year, Joe and I lived with him. We lived off 36 Valley Avenue, so right by Carver.
I remember.
But dude, I mean, he was behind Lincoln. He loved the brown liquor. Big fan of JD, right?
Yes, he did.
But he could have a bender, knowing that we have sprints the next morning, and come and win 8 out of 9 sprints.
Yeah.
Like I remember one night him and Joe got into it, and Joe was sober and Corey had been drinking, and Joe's like, I can beat you in a sprint. I'm like, you don't want to make this bet. He's betting on Corey just being so drunk. That's the only way he's going to win. I don't think Joe ever beat him in a sprint. Like they went over the next morning and like did sprints. And I think Joe kept going until Corey like puked it. That's probably the only time but he was so good. And I'd get to Corey's. I could never finish.
Yeah,
because great balance, great athlete, all of those things. And you had a lot of other kids like that in the room that, that for better or worse, they were behind kids that man, if they could have gone anywhere else. Like Eric Elin.
Yeah,
Eric was at my weight, 3-time state champ. I think he lost 6 matches or less in high school. Kid from Belle Plaine. For God, what was his name?
Al Billings.
Al Billings, yeah. Al Billings, right? The high voice, right? Al Billings. Who was our Fargo?
I see Al. I'll see him a handful of times.
He's all around. You know who else is still around coaching? That was on our Fargo staff? Keith Massey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I see
Keith at all the big tournaments.
Yeah, you still.
He was like one of the OG. I would say that he was almost like the OG of clubs. Because he had that Council
Powerhouse
Bluffs club. Because at the Council Bluffs in Omaha area, he would have all those guys were like Kilgard and golly, who else?
The twins, Paulson twins.
And he was like the freestyle Greco guy.
Yeah.
In Iowa, and then all of a sudden, obviously now everybody.
He's still around. He still's got his club. He's competing.
Awesome.
Obviously, there's some. You have a couple other tough clubs.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, a couple other clubs out there. Now you've got the best wrestler with Ivanov, and you've got that Omaha club as well that's there. And so there's
MWC.
MWCA. It's getting competitive.
Yeah.
I'm
because
still waiting.
Because Zach Dominguez and Zach Wilcox are running MWC.
I'm still waiting see where that premier. You've got your top tier, all your P&Ls, right? You got your Izzies, you've got your Young Guns, you've got your Seabolts. I'm still waiting to see where that premier. Right now, it's Valiant Prep, right? But they're not really a club. I wouldn't. I mean, they're part of P&L, but they're not a club in the traditional sense of club.
Right.
I'm waiting for that to happen on the women's side.
Yeah.
Like it's coming, but yet there's still not this premier like in Iowa. these girls are going different places. There's a few places. You have Samantha Seabolt, TJ's sister, who has a good group of girls. You've got, you got Moa, and there's 5, 6, 7 girls at each of those clubs that are really good, but there's not like one place for all these girls to go.
Right.
Where on the boys' side, it's uber competitive. Like I remember when I was trying to get my daughter into Seabolt, I'd been helping coach TJ. I was like, hey, I'd like to get my daughter. He's like, I'm full. I can't. I don't have a spot for her. Like, can she come to practice and you watch her once? I was like, okay, begrudgingly. He texted me in the second minute. He goes, I like her. And that's all. It wasn't like, I like her and she can come. He's like, I like her. And I'm like, does that mean she's in? We're good to go? He's like, yeah, we're good. So, but it's weird on the women's side because everything's different.
Yeah.
I talk about recruiting with girls right now too. And it's, that June 15th date, right? When NCAA schools can contact you and you see it on Flow, your Knoxes and your Bassett's. It's like, it's midnight and their phone starts ringing. And you've got girls that are just as good as the guys now, and their phone doesn't start ringing until halfway through their junior year, or even their senior year, and they just don't know why. It's like, college coaches the women's coaches are on a different timetable yet. I'm trying to do better and reach out to some of these people and start to create those relationships, but it's growing so fast, it's almost too fast.
Yeah, because it's hard because I've got friends that have daughters that try to navigate it, and it's such a different recruiting process than because I was involved in the boys side for a while when I was at Chattanooga and Poly. So I have a pretty good handle on the Division I, the men's side, but when it comes to first of all with the women's side, there's not like one division where everything's the world team's made up of basically D1s, D2s, and A's. It's all like spread out, and like you said, everything's are growing so fast, and when it comes to recruiting, you have to have help, whether it's administrative help, whether it's just somebody there looking at videos and watching whatever, or taking correspondence, or just whatever. A staff of 1 and 2 can't get it all done. Just all the stuff.
You have to divide it.
It is
conquer.
so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard for that. And you got to have just look at the staffs that like these Division I college men's teams have. That are really, really like big players. They got 8, 10 people that are helping them with everything.
Well, you look back in our day. We had a official staff of 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But yet you had all these postgraduate kids that are in the room wrestling training. There's like, why was I so good back in the day? It's like nobody left.
Yeah.
Nobody left. The Hawkeye Wrestling Club. It's like, I'm going to wrestle till I can't walk anymore.
I know.
That was the thing my dad said when I was there. It's like, I wanted to continue to train, to try to make a world team, but the conversation was different. He's like, either you get a job or you stay in school. I wasn't ready to get a job. Wasn't ready to be an adult. Still question whether I'm ready to be an adult.
Oh, I know I'm not.
Right? You're not. You're like adulting's hard.
I'm good.
It's hard. Like, God, wait till you kids change the whole perspective.
Yeah, I'm good.
And so I went to law school and then kind of went down that path while I was training and doing all these things, trying to train at a high level while still going to law school. And I had some pretty good success on the senior level, but yet decided like, hey, my love, my passion isn't there the way it was. Is there sort of like second guess regrets, like the what ifs, like, man, I wish I would have taken a quad and really invested and seen how it turned out. Yeah.
Cause so when you graduated after you won your title as a senior, what did you do after that from wrestling?
I wrestled 2 years.
2 years.
I wrestled 2 years. So I actually was on the world team. So I made the Olympic. It was 2000. So 2000 was when Kolot won it.
Yep.
Kolot beat Jaworski in the finals. I'd actually beat Jaworski that year.
Okay.
So I won Dave Schultz. So I beat Jaworski and a bunch of other, and I think I beat either Troy or Terry Steiner down in Arizona too. So I was going into the U.S. Open, pretty high in the ladder. U.S. Open was 2 days after my law school finals, so probably not the best training environment. Didn't have a great U.S. Open. This was after my second year of law school, and I was doing really good in law school. Got a job offer for a stupid amount of money to basically go intern in Chicago. So I decided I went for the money. There was no money in wrestling. There certainly wasn't any NAL.
Right.
Even coaches were making
no RTCs,
nothing, right? There was no nothing. So there really wasn't a viable option. And so I was like, you start throwing high, good amount of money at a kid who's 22, 23 years old. I'm like, I think I want to do that. Yeah. And so I decided to hang my shoes up a little bit too early, but then started coaching, not anything big, working with, kids one-on-ones, working with some high-level clubs, whether it was with Overtime Wrestling, moved back to Iowa City, helped with Coach Ryland, at West High, kind of retooled his club a little bit with some of the things I learned from Coach Sean Bourmet, parents aren't allowed in the room sort of deal. Like, what do you mean they're not allowed? He's like, well, if they don't like it, then go somewhere else. I don't you know how to ruin a kid? have their parent in the room. So it's just some of those things. So did that, moved to Waukee again, kind of helped out there, worked with Seabolt, and then full circle, I wasn't happy with my job, with my life. My sister passed away, and I kind of did an inventory on where I was, with happiness level, and realized that money isn't the root of all happiness. And I was going to work, waiting till my work was over till I could go help out at a club or help out at a high school. Out of nowhere, somebody sent me a job opportunity down here. The assistant coach at Simpson College on the men's side was open.
And what year was this? This had been how long?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Okay.
Dylan Peters was the head coach here. Dylan was a 3-time state champ, hammer from not Denison. I can't think of it. He wrestled for Doug Schwab.
Yeah,
2-time All-American for Doug
Doug
Schwab. Came down here, interviewed, loved it, fell in love with it, looked at some of the facilities. I was like, this doesn't look or feel like a D3 school. And was here for a year on the men's side. AD started thinking about a women's program, and I kind of oversaw that development. They opened up the jobs. I didn't apply for it. Never thought I was going to apply for it to become a women's coach. And I'd invested a good amount of time in the development idea of it, like how are we going to do this and be successful, and saw the applicants. I was like, no, none of these guys are going to do this, right? And Terry's like, if you're not happy with them, why don't you just do it? And so Terry Steiner kind of not talked me into it, but kind of
talked you into it.
He did. He did and he didn't. In the way Terry talked. Yeah. Terry doesn't talk anybody into anything. He kind of shared his story of how he had never coached women, then became the head women's coach. Yep. And, his wife had that conversation with him, like, wouldn't you, if your daughter wrestled, wouldn't you want them to have the best coaches in the world? Don't you view yourself as one of the best coaches out there? He's like, yeah, but I've never coached women. All the same stuff that he had said to his wife is things that I was saying to myself and to that. And I'm like, am I going to make mistakes coaching women? Absolutely. Do I have great mentors in my life? Absolutely. Terry Steiner. Our softball coach here, Coach Matthias, has been coaching women for 25 years. They just got done. They're in the World Series. They got fourth in the country, right? Wow. He's been a huge mentor of mine when it comes to just the differences in the relationships on the women's side, and then having what I think is probably one of the best now associate head coaches in the country. Coach Emma joined us, and she keeps me honest. Like she's like, you can't say things this way or that way, or just everything that about her experience when she was a female wrestler in college, knowing what her experience was like, and then being able to sort of help our program get to where it is. So having a good deep coaching staff where everybody does something differently has really gotten us to be where we thought we could be when we started the program. Where from a standpoint that I never like set out on the path like, hey, I'm going to be a women's coach. For the first year, a lot of coaches that we recruit against were telling people, oh, Jeff's going to be there for a year before he goes back and coaches men. I'm like, really? I'm never coaching men again. Like, not that I don't like coaching, I like coaching altogether, but on the women's side, it's different in a way that I can appreciate better than I appreciate it on the men's side.
And how's that?
Best way I can explain it, Dave Storm. Dave Storm? Longtime coach in Iowa, coached at Spencer.
Okay.
Probably one of the godfathers when it comes to girls wrestling in high school, certainly in Iowa. And I heard a podcast of him as I was thinking about this. And the best way I can say it is the way I explain it, and I may not be doing him any justice, but he said the most important thing when you're coaching men and boys is you need to earn their respect. The most important thing when you're coaching women and girls is you need to earn their trust. Not that trust isn't important for boys and not that respect isn't important for women, but if that is your focus and you understand that, it just changes how you go about everything that you do. When I was recruited on the men's side, right? How quickly in a conversation, my focus when I was recruiting for the men's program here, my focus was how quickly can I tell this guy, this high school kid that I'm talking to, that I was a 2-time national champion, wrestled for Gable. Dylan was a 2-time All-American, D1, oh, by the way, not D2, D3. How quickly can we get that in the conversation? If I'm recruiting a girl and that comes up, I probably messed up. Like, does it occasionally come up in conversations because either the dad or the mom know about it or they ask about my career, what I did? Certainly, but it's never anything that I'm offering to the conversation. It's about building trust and building rapport. Same thing when we're in here. Kyle Klingman, I did an interview with him. And he's like, how often do you share your stories of like your success under Gable? And honestly, I probably share my failures, my mistakes, more than I share anything that I did good because, that formed who I was as a person, let alone who I was as a wrestler. And so it's just, it's just different and different in a way that I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Like I could never, like when my career is over coaching, I will die a women's wrestling coach.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
that's the hill that I'll die on.
Seriously, no, but that's so cool though that you have that type of passion for it. I mean, really does.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. What's the biggest challenge on the women's side as far as getting the program where you? I mean, I know Jeff McGinness is a competitor.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's only one number you want to get to. That's it. But what's the biggest challenges on their side right now?
Recruiting.
Yeah.
You know, most people have this presumption like, hey, I'm going to go wrestle in college and I'm going to get a scholarship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the men's side, there you have X amount of D1 programs, X amount of D2 programs, all the NAIs. There's money to be, or let's say you're the number one person in the world. There's NIL money. Mm-hmm. It's not there on the women's side yet. Mm-hmm. You've got like 8 D1 programs now, maybe a 15 to 20 D2 programs. The bulk of the women's programs right now are small private D3 schools like us that are expensive. Mm-hmm. And so trying to tell the story, I remember being recruited by Gable, and I remember him telling me this story, and I also remember him telling it to somebody else because I was in the room when he told this to somebody else. I got a full ride, so I'm not sure why he told me this, but it was what it was. He was talking to a top tier recruit and was basically telling them like, I don't have a full ride to give you. And the way he explained it, he's like, is more money going to help you win a national title and make a world team? Is it? Probably not. It's good coaches, good workout partners, good environment. And so that's kind of the conversation we have here is like, as much as I wish I had athletic scholarships to give some of these top tier girls that we're bringing in, I don't. Now, if you're a good student, we can get you a bunch of money, but it's still, if you have somebody who had a D2 program or an NAI program that's going to offer you a full ride, I can't compete with that from a money standpoint. What I can compete with you is experience and coaching and facilities and budget and all of the things that will matter. Mm-hmm. You paying zero to go to a school that may not even have the same academic level, that's a whole other conversation of somewhere like Simpson or Wartburg or Loris or any of the schools that are in our conference that are top tier academic schools. Like that's a whole other conversation. But when you start talking about wrestling, it's like, what matters? Mm-hmm. Like, what are your goals and what's going to get you there? Mm-hmm. Good coaching, good workout partners, good environment.
Yeah.
Okay. Is paying $0 to go to a school that maybe a coach doesn't have the same level of experience going to get you there? And so that is our biggest struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's other struggles too. I mean, but I wouldn't say they're unique to women's wrestling.
Right.
Weight cutting, weight management's different. We worked with Erin Sparrow for a number of years. She's probably one of the foremost expert when it comes to women's wrestling nutrition. She's out of Lehigh Valley. Now we work with Econ Nutrition, but I listened to a seminar, my first year of coaching on the women's side at the coaches convention, and she said it. So it was one of the dumbest things I've heard and one of the smartest things I heard. Women are not small men when it comes to nutrition. Duh.
Yeah.
It's like, so how you manage nutrition and how you manage weight management is completely different and all of those things. And in turn, how we talk about weight cutting and weight management is different. Women have a much higher prevalence of eating disorders, right? And mismanaging things. And so, how you need to manage it, but you can't micromanage it. Like once you start weighing absolutely everything you're putting in your body, you might be at an extreme. You need to have off days. You need to have free days. And just, checking your weight every single second of every single day. That's not a thing that we do. We want you to be fit. We want you to be healthy. We want you to focus on becoming a better wrestler. That's kind of the important piece of it. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of differences, but they're subtle and nuanced is what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. But you guys have obviously overcome that recruiting challenge because you guys got a heck of a class coming in next year.
Yeah. Last 2 years, we started off, so I got hired, the first year I got hired in April, and we decided to say, ready, set, go. Let's compete our first year. I brought in a class of 12, good group of girls. Most of them had placed at state. Sophomore year was a really good class. And then last 2 years, we've had what I consider to be some of the best girls in the country. This year in particular, we got a pretty large class coming in, but of the girls we have coming in, I want to say, 8 to 10, 12 of them are ranked top 25 by USA Wrestling. Got a couple girls that are ranked, top 10. Actually, probably like 6 girls who are ranked top 10 in the country. But here's the cool thing: they're great people, come from great families, and the average incoming GPA of the girls we have coming in is a 3.8.
Wow!
So, I mean, they're smart. They understand what it's about. They want to compete at a high level. They want to be a part of a team and a family that is all rowing in the same direction.
Wow. Tell you what, I mean, all you got to do is just get them on campus here. I mean, I've been here, like I said, I told you, my brother, when he left Iowa, came here and played baseball. And it's been a long time since I've been in Indianola and been at Simpson College campus, and it is nice. I mean,
he'd probably step on campus and be like, "Man, I wish I had a weight room back here."
Goodness.
They redid their field, so now they have a turf field out there, a new scoreboard. I mean, we had an athletic director. So Simpson's always, I would say, been middle of the pack when it comes to. We've always been number one in our conference on the academic side, pretty much across the board. We've been middle of the pack when it comes to our athletics, and probably middle of the pack when it came to our facilities. We had an athletic director join us 5 years ago who kind of was very a visionary when it came to like, hey, you guys want to be serious about where you want to get to, right? Can we still maintain the academic standards and become more competitive? What is it going to take? Well, facilities. And so, they re-turfed the field. They've done a lot in the last 5 years. When they moved us to a new wrestling room that's like 5 mats. One of the big D3 school, one of the biggest wrestling rooms in the country. He decided he retired. So we have a new guy who literally just started. I haven't met him yet, so I'm excited to meet him. But it's been a process the last 5 years, and I've been fortunate enough that we started our program under that. And so the girls that have here have seen the continued momentum, not just with our team, but across the board and the facilities and the teams. We went from a staffing standpoint where most of our teams would have a full-time head coach and a part-time assistant coach. Now every team has got full, and usually a couple part-timers in there as well. So they look not only at facilities, they looked at staffing. They take winning seriously. A few years ago, our football team hadn't won. I think they'd won one game in like 2 years. The athletic director brought everybody in and peace out. We're getting a new staff. Right. And so, we're going to give you all these shiny things. We expect you to perform at a high level while continuing what you guys do on the academic side. Wow. So I'm excited to be here. People ask like, why are you at Simpson when you could go all these other places and maybe not have that battle with the lack of scholarships? It's the right place for me. Like I'm from Iowa. There's not a lot of other opportunities in Iowa that would give me this level of support to build a team. Same thing with our staff and, the girls that I have on the team. It's like I've got, 35, 36 additional daughters kind of built in too. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned your time at, I'm just, like I said, I just jump around.
Oh, you're fine.
Man, I love it. I mean, I love talking to you. Like I said, it's great catching up for one. But you mentioned your time working with Bormet at Overtime.
Yeah.
He was, Sean's an awesome dude. Awesome dude. Not only that, but just a great coach. I mean, he's a great coach. And he was, again, one of the OGs in the club side. What was that experience like there? Like, because you were literally working at one of the best. I mean, not only one of the best. It was the very first one to do it.
It was the first super club. I wasn't there. I wasn't there tons. I mean, he was the first super club, right? And you had Tannenbaum. You had all these really good kids. And the thing that always stuck out to me is like you had this big room and you had all these stands. And I looked up like the first day. I'm like, where are the parents? He's like, they're not allowed. Like ever. Like today. He's like ever, because they're allowed to drop their kid off in the lobby and then they leave. And I was like, what about the parents that don't want that? He's like, they can go somewhere else. But that's money you're turning away, right? Yeah. TJ, my daughter's club, he allows parents, but he has other things. Like he'll kick kids out of the club that aren't training at the level. So what? Yeah, am I a for profit? Do I need? But it's not at the sake of sacrificing who you are. Yeah. And that was kind of what his approach to it as well. So my oldest graduated from Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So he graduated this year, engineering. He's staying for another year, master's degree. And so I go up there and visit him often. Every time I'm up there, I go in the wrestling room. Yeah. It was funny. The first year I went, his freshman year. So we went into the wrestling room. They're practicing, and so my son's with me as well. And it was. I didn't understand it at first, but then it made sense. So I'm sitting there talking to Sean. Every single one of the wrestlers comes up, shakes my hand. Hey, nice to meet you. How you doing? Welcome to Michigan. Yeah. And they shake my son's hand. And finally I look at Sean, I'm like, do they think he's a recruit? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, my son is not a recruit, right? But he goes, but you know what? It's a good test to see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And it wasn't like, he goes, it's not a rule. Yeah. He goes, I don't make them do it. But that's the kind of program that we have here in Michigan. They're coming up, they're shaking hands. And then I was there when a few of his recruits came in, and I saw the same. They had some really top recruits on. And I'm like, I'm gonna get out of your way and just watch. Yeah. They're all doing the same thing. And then he introduces me. And he's like, this coach Jeff McGinness, he wrestled at Iowa and all. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, my son goes here. Yeah. It was funny because when that happened, a couple photos got posted on the internet, and it's like, "Oh, Jeff's leaving Simpson to go coach the women's program at Michigan." I'm like if Michigan starts a women's program, it might be a conversation. Yeah, right, there you go. I joke with my girls. I told the girls like, I won't leave unless like Iowa comes calling. Yeah, because I was my jam, right? Or it would have to be a big ask. Yeah. But Michigan's Michigan, man. I mean, it's crazy. But I talked to him. I said, is it any time soon? He said, pre-COVID, we would have been the first Big Ten team.
Really?
Pre-COVID, we were down that path. We had the fun. We had things set in place. COVID happened. NIL changed everything. Like NIL became a real thing. And he goes, and then we got a new president, and all of a sudden, I think he told me, if I'm not mistaken, so their wrestling facilities offsite, where all of their athletic facilities are. I think he had said like we even have drawings for the add-on to this building, right? And so they were far down that path, and that's kind of where women's wrestling is on the D1 scale. Is everybody's having to wait and see. Yeah. COVID changed things from a standpoint of money. They lost a lot of funding during that for all of their games, and then NIL comes in, and it was like, oh, that's great, kids are being paid. Like, you want to have a long conversation about NIL and transfer portal, like I'll talk about that forever because I think it's the worst thing ever. I don't think kids should be paid. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, why is that not fair? I'm like, because you are. You have a degree. What's your degree worth? If the degree's not valuable to you, that's not my problem. That's your problem. Like if you're a football player, a basketball player, that's only going to be there for 2 years anyways. But there's only so much money to go around. And because there's only so much money to go around, it's going to continue to be siphoned off to the programs that are the forefront, your football, baseball, basketballs. And eventually it's going to be not only is it not going to lead to more programs when it comes to women's sports or men's non-revenue sports, it's going to be the death of them. So, luckily, hopefully, Congress is looking at this, National Wrestling Coaches Association. There's a lot of people that are finally understanding, like, okay, there's got to be some guardrails in that prevent the destruction of what collegiate athletics are. Yeah.
No, I would agree. Yeah, like I said, that's I personally, because like I said, I spent 6 years at Chattanooga, 3 at Cal Poly, about 10 years total. 1 year back at Chattanooga in the mid-major Division I. Yeah. I wasn't at one of the big dogs where the money was, where the money, the resources were there. I really couldn't imagine being in the Division I landscape now with this NIL. It's crazy. It's
Nick Saban, in what I think his testimony before Congress, he talked about, his first year, it was like his payroll was 5. It's funny. He said payroll to his players. Payroll was 5, then it was 10, then it was 30, then it was like, I think it's upwards of like 35 million now that basically the football team in some way or fashion through NIL money, kids are being paid directly, this amount of money. You have the NCAA settlement. I mean, it's weird. And some people think I'm jaded because like, man, if I was wrestling now, I would have gotten a bunch of money. Sure. But I still have the same opinion. Would I have taken it? Probably. But I still think it's wrong. I think amateur sports should be amateur sports. Okay, let's maybe invest in a professional. Hey, RAF. Yeah, like let's make that a thing. If you want to pay people, let's pay them. So collegiate athletics is definitely different. Man, we didn't even have a transfer portal. Remember when Metcalf and them? Transferred
lost a year,
and Slayton they lost a year because not only did they not have a transfer portal, you had to be released by your school. And because Tom was leaving Virginia Tech, the ADs there's like, well, guess what? Your kids are going to be screwed because we don't want you to leave. Yeah. So I don't know. And I think even Tom had a built-in thing that like with his contract, like I can leave if Iowa comes calling. It's like you can leave, but my athletes can't. So I don't know. There's so many musical chairs right now in college with wrestling, and we're starting to see it a little bit on the women's side.
Really?
Oh yeah. There's the transfer portal.
Yeah,
dude, the transfer portal is starting to go.
Yeah, the transfer portal. Yeah,
I mean, you've got nothing against. I love Allie and Jake at Iowa State. I'm glad they're starting a program, but their first 8 commits are all transfers.
I know.
I mean, good. I mean, you're getting good kids to come in right away, but is that the way that you should build a program? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. Having a mix of people would be a good thing. So
in this landscape, it's got to be part of the equation anymore. Almost. I mean, on the men's side for sure. I don't know about the women's side, but the men's side, it's got to be part of the equation. Some people have a little bit more to offer than others.
Well, be like Stanford.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids are staying. You know why they're staying? Yeah, because it's Stanford.
Yeah, exactly.
Because guess what? A degree from Stanford means something. Yeah. Explain to them the value of what you're getting to be a part of this program. Doug Schwab at UNI. Parker Kickeisen probably passed up $2-3 million.
Oh yeah,
Could have gone anywhere, right? There's other kids on that team right now that probably could go places. You know why they're staying? Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Doug.
Yeah.
Dude, in the culture. Like, dude, every single one of those things that his wife posts.
Oh, it's awesome.
Dude, I listen to those. I write it down. I'm like, man, I wish I'm ready to go.
Dude, Doug Schwab.
Like, awesome. I get fired up. I'm like, man, I want to go wrestle for Doug. So
he's awesome. Yeah.
But he's good stuff, and that's, he's somebody who has opportunities to go other places, but he's loyal.
Yeah.
Like, he turned down the Illinois job.
Yeah.
Because you know why? He's loyal to you and I.
Yeah.
And not just loyal to you and I. He's like, I'm loyal to my kids. Like, I recruited these kids here. Like, they'd be heartbroken. I might bring some of them with me, but I'm not bringing all of them. Yeah. And guess what? I like them all. I love them all. So that's unique in this day and age.
Yeah.
There's not enough Doug Schwabs in the world.
Would you like speaking of this day and age, would you like most, what was your favorite part of wrestling back in the 90s? Like when we were back in the day, what was your favorite part about it? I know what not that I fell out at that time, but I loved my team. I loved all the guys. I mean, I loved being a part of our team. It was amazing. What did you, as one of the Iowa greats and one of the stars back in the 90s, what did you enjoy most?
Probably the two things, the fans.
Mm-hmm.
I loved and hated our fans. Because we had some of the best fans in the world.
Oh, man.
Like, literally some of the best. And we also had some of the worst.
Yeah.
And it started to show. It started to show a little bit when the Mat.com forums. Remember, that was kind of towards the end.
Yeah, I remember.
And now it's like you have all these keyboard warriors that are hiding behind screen names and all that.
Yep.
It's like that piece of it. I loved and I hated. I like that we could do some things that just straight up wouldn't fly now.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, Russian saunas.
Yeah.
Being locked in a sauna with no lights and sensory deprivation, and basically, Gable.
You remember that day when Gable did one of those, and Fred and Freddie and Terry ended up outside on the mats, freaking wrestling for like 30 minutes because they were about ready to go at it in the sauna.
Yeah. And the only way we could get out, because you didn't know how long you were in there.
Yeah.
And I don't think Gable had he didn't have a clock. It was like until somebody passes out or somebody breaks mentally. And so you'd be like, all right, who's the weakest link in here? And then you'd start slowly, you'd start breathing on them. And you didn't want to breathe too hard on them because then they know you're breathing on, but you just slowly breathe on them. And your buddy, hey, let's breathe on him, right? And because then you get hotter quicker, and then you get somebody to break. We recognized it was as much about the Russian sauna and the cleansing aspect of what we were doing, with the hot and cold showers and the fruit and all that. And it was great for our body, but it was the mental side as well. I remember one time Gable was pissed, dropping us off, 10 miles out of town and being like, run home. Like, there's not a coach in the I don't care if you're Nick Saban, Cale Sanderson, Tom. There's not a coach in the world that can do some of the things that Gable had us do.
Yeah.
Notice I said had us do, not do to us, because we volunteered for this, right? We knew if I said the thing that he did to us, then it has a negative connotation. The thing that we voluntarily signed up and agreed to do, that he would convince us to do, that only Gable could do. The list is so long.
Yeah.
That now in today's day and age, one, it's contrary to some sports science, which is fine, but there's some things that, I wish, just from hey, put the gloves on.
Yeah.
We got boxing gloves.
Yeah.
Like, if I had boxing gloves in here and said, guess what we're doing today? We're going to actually have boxing matches. I'd be fired the next day.
Yeah. That's right. We had the speed bag in there too.
Speed bag in there.
We had the heavy bag. Yeah, we had everything.
I remember what was it? One summer we decided, it was during camps.
Uh-huh.
We didn't do it with campers. The campers were there watching. And we decided to put the gloves on. And so it was like Gillis and Ironside and Stanley and myself and Schwab. I think the first go I ended up boxing with Doug Schwab. And much like anything with Doug Schwab is technique.
Yeah.
He didn't necessarily have it right away. But you'd have to kill the kid for him to stop. Straight up. And so we went one go and I'm like, I'm done. I ain't doing no more. Because I know he's just and then he caught me with a few and it's this isn't my jam. I'm too pretty. I'm not pretty. But it's one of those things. You just had some crazy people in the room.
Yeah.
That, what their worst hobby was? Drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys didn't have the vices and they didn't go out and drink and party. Their vice was drinking Mountain Dew and training harder. Mm-hmm. And they would do more of those things. Hunting. like Mike Zadek. Like Mike Zadek butchering a deer in his garage and getting in trouble. Of all the things to get in trouble for, right? There's worse things to get in trouble for, and the fact that we got in trouble for some of the things that are most basic was kind of crazy. But I remember back in the day, the story that Royce would always tell is, there was a generation at Iowa where, and you weren't there then. It was even before you, where they could do anything.
Oh yeah,
they could do anything on Iowa. They could do anything in the bars, and they'd never be arrested. They're maybe making some bad decisions driving. They get pulled over, like, hey, put your keys, we'll give you a ride home. But it was, I think, in the 80s that, remember when you had George Raveling was there, and then Davis came in after. So it was Davis coaching Raveling's recruits. And it was when Iowa was really good. But they got into it in the bars, like the basketball team.
I remember that,
right? And that was that. I think that was when things flipped at Iowa, where it's like, guess what? All the fun things you guys used to do that you get away with, not going to happen anymore. And so you couldn't do anything wrong. Like we started to be targeted on campus. You had to walk the thin line anymore. If you're going out, hanging out, doing anything. And so whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But like Royce's generation, it's like, why don't we have any of those cool, crazy stories? It's like, well, we kind of ruined it for you.
Yeah, right.
Like, we had a lot of fun. Like I think one year Royce and Sully and those guys, they rented a Novak rented a U-Haul van and put a keg in the back of the U-Haul and drilled a hole so they could pee out of the U-Haul. I mean, who thinks of these things?
The first two I had in this podcast, when I decided to do it, I said, okay, I'm going to go 100% on it. Okay, who am I going to have? There was two names and two names only. Randy Lewis and Royce Alger. Yep. Those are the two I was starting it out. Yeah. I was coming in hot with those two.
It's like, we're going to dance to one song and one song only.
That's it right
Lady
there.
Humps by the Black Eyed Peas, right? It's straight out of some of my favorite quotes are Will Ferrell quotes. It drives my wife crazy. But yeah, if you're going to do a podcast on wrestling and Iowa wrestling specifically focused, those stories are the two you're going to do it with.
Yeah, it was because that was, like I said, there was a short list of like the early ones that I was doing, and those two were number ones and number twos. I've heard probably most of Royce's story. Oh yeah, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. They're still funny. Oh, they're hilarious.
They're still hilarious. Now sometimes his jokes, when he does his jokes, I'm like, Royce, I kind of know the punchline now. I don't need it. It's good. We're fine. But the cool thing about Royce is, Royce even generationally though we're different. Mm-hmm. Royce is one of those old schoolers. I joked with you about this and a few other guys on our team that sort of that. That scene from The Town with Ben Affleck and what's his name? And Ben Affleck walks in and says, hey, we're going to go mess some people up. I can't tell you what you're going to do. And then the response is like, whose car we're going to drive? Yeah. Royce is that guy. Yeah. Royce is that guy that, if you wore the Iowa singlet and you called him up, you're in a pinch, you need $1 here, $2 here, you need to be bailed out of jail, you need a buddy to go drink with. Mm-hmm. I don't care what generation you are. If you wore the Iowa singlet, he's going to get in the car and go where you are. That's the type of guy Royce is. Mm-hmm. My relationship with Royce really was solidified after my junior year. So go from national champ to losing to not being All-American. I walk up in the stands, throw my shit to my parents, and disappear. I was gone.
Really?
Like Gable didn't know where I'd went. I essentially was going to go get a bus back to Iowa City. Didn't have my wallet on, so I ended up going back to the hotel. Royce is standing outside my hotel waiting for me. Gable had sent Royce back to look for me and wait for me. And so I was going to basically leave Minnesota and go just get on a bus and leave. And my parents we didn't have cell phones back in those days. Right. It's not like we didn't have Find My iPhone. Like right now, my wife's probably like, why are you still there? I see your phone there. And so I didn't have my wallet. So I went back to my hotel and he's there. And so he wouldn't let me leave. He's like, listen, I got you. Because you're not going to have to deal with any of the shitty fans. You're not going to have to deal with any of this stuff, but just, I got you. And so he was basically kind of my bodyguard, my boy for that entire rest of the tournament. We had the national party where I didn't want to be. Mm-hmm. Dude, Royce was there for me. Wow. And so, that's the type of people that, and he's not the only one. We had a lot of guys on that team that were that way during that generation, old school and new school, that they're just your ride or die guys. And you talked about, you said what was the coolest thing for you, the people. Yeah. A lot of times people ask, one question that I ask girls when I'm recruiting them, are you a process driven or are you an objective driven person? Mm-hmm. Is it about the process or is it about the journey? Right? Mm-hmm. Do I want to win something or do I want to get better or both? Mm-hmm. And people are different, driven by different incentives. The answer that I love the most, and I think it's from a children's book, And I think I've heard not Ben Affleck, Matthew McConaughey, I think, used it in a speech one night. He goes, and he's asked the question, is it about the process or is it about the journey? Neither. It's about the people. It's about the company. It's about the people you're doing it with, and that drives things home. Our relationship with Gable, our relationship with our teammates, our relationship with the fan base, good and bad sometimes. It doesn't matter whether you're old or new. It's still there. It's still there. Once you're an IR wrestler, you're always an IR wrestler. So I know, like Corey wrestled here. I don't view him as wrestling at Simpson.
Yeah.
He wrestled at Iowa with me.
Yeah.
He's an Iowa guy.
Absolutely.
And he still comes back to the Iowa stuff. And he's welcomed. And so that's what I love. I mean, certainly there's other parts of that story that I appreciate, but I wouldn't say we had an incredibly close team because everybody was crazy competitive. You had like friggin' 30 alphas in there, right? And it's hard to have the level of closeness when everybody not only wants to be the best at their weight, they want to be the best on the team. Like I remember, it's like, is Phil Hattie going to give me a nickname? Like that was always a thing, right? And Phil had a rule. Only 2 people at a time would get a nickname. And so so when I came in, you had Lincoln McElravy, the Dakota Destroyer.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to be the next? I'm like, man, I need a cool nickname. And Phil's like, I can't come up with it. I don't have one. And then he came up with Joe Lightning Williams.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it, I'm not going to get a nickname. Like I wanted the nickname. I wanted to be one of the 2. So it was, but that was the environment we had. Not only did we want to be the best at our weight, we wanted to be the best, and that was what drove us to be that way. And having a group of people that are around you to support you, to push you, sometimes drive you crazy. Yeah. Sometimes end up with fists. Yeah. Dude, I remember one summer, Ironside, I went at it. Yeah. I think it was the summer in between. It was our summer I had demons. It was either in between my sophomore, junior, or in between my junior and senior year. We threw fists, and Gable let it happen. Yeah. He's like, they need to figure their shit out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it like I said, you talk about just the culture in there, and it was a lot of people ask me, about my years at Iowa, because I was there from 91 to 96. So we were just we were teammates for I think 2 years, and then I missed all your years after that. But so I came in, and Tom, as my redshirt freshman year, Tom was obviously defending 2-time national champ already. After that, it was Zadok and Ironside. Those are all the guys in my weight. Yep. And people are like, why would you stick around that plate? Why? What are you sticking around there for? And I was like, it's interesting because I know, especially my junior year, my senior year, Coach Gable would come up to me and he'd say, so-and-so reached out to me, see if you're, happy, or if you're, thinking about maybe, get a change of scenery. And I'm like, for what? He's like, I just wondered. I didn't know if you'd be, how interested you'd be in it. So-and-so was asking about you. And I was like, no, I'm gonna stick around here because I loved it there. I loved the program. I loved wrestling for Coach Gable. I loved my teammates like yourself and everybody else. And it was home for me. It was awesome.
And people were loyal. I mean, that's the thing that I think, going back to what we're talking about, transfer portal, NIL has ruined loyalty in sports.
Absolutely.
You went to a place not because they gave you the most money. You went to a place because you loved what it was about.
Absolutely.
And that's, I didn't take a single other recruiting visit. And I grew up in Iowa City.
I was going to ask you that. Because everybody there. Everybody, your brother probably was on you. Time.
It was. I had a few coaches call, and it was more we're checking in in case there's something we don't know about, right? Yeah. And it was J. Rob, it was Leroy Smith, and then I had a friend that was wrestling for the coach out at North Carolina. Okay. And so he kind of reached out, and nobody said anything bad about Iowa. Hey, we know you're probably going to Iowa in case there's something we don't know about, in case it's not the right fit for you. We just want to let you know we're interested. And that was the extent of it. I mean, of the programs, Jay would probably have been a second, but a distant second. Because the relationship that my family had with Jay. My dad was one of the founders of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, and he was close to that whole generation, and I knew it. I have a picture when I was sitting on the bench when Randy Lewis had a broken arm or dislocated his elbow wrestling Gibbons. I had broken my arm. I remember either the Bannock's or Rico Chiparelli. I can't remember who it was. So J-Rob had a old school tape recorder. So tape recorder with a mic, and that's how he would take notes during matches. So he'd have, and he had set it down, and so they somehow got me to go steal it in the middle of the match when I was just a little shithead kid. So great influence, right? Go steal J-Rob's. And so, that was the environment that I was around, and so I kind of, when it came to wrestling, you had other places that were good, but they weren't what Iowa was. You know, if Iowa wasn't in existence, the place that I probably should have gone to from what I was as a wrestler would probably been Oklahoma State. And people would have been like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Right? But from a technical and tactical standpoint and how I wrestled, Coach Smith probably would have been the best other coach for me.
Yeah, no, I would. I was just about ready to answer that. Yeah, for sure. I could 100%. Like this for somebody that's actually obviously, you know, wrestled you and trained with you and stuff like. I would get 100% just because of the things that you did, and it would have been pretty interesting to see how you'd done there too. You know, just saying. Again,
you know, it wasn't like I'm saying, hey, I wish I would have gone. To be clear, I'm not saying I wish I would have explored that opportunity. I'm incredibly grateful for my experience, and I'm glad that I went. I hadn't had the opportunity to, but if I had gotten hit by like a bomb and wasn't in existence, then I probably would have looked at other places and. Yeah, but I wouldn't have been smart enough back then to probably even look at it. I probably would have just, hey, I know J-Rob, I know Jay, I'm going to go there. And it would have been fine. I'd have been good there too. Yeah. Probably would have cut more weight under J-Rob because that was kind of his thing. Probably would have been worse for me specifically because I hated to cut weight. But
you'd been 18-pounder. Yeah.
Dude, I remember him talking to my dad one year. It's like, I think the year that we were wrestling 42, they're like, oh, Jason David should be 134. And I'm like, dude, he's bigger than I am. It's like, what are you talking about? Should be like, holy cow. Like he had some, I remember like Willie Short and a few of those other guys. Some of those guys that like Lincoln wrestled at 42 and 50. Some of those guys were monsters.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and Lincoln wasn't exactly a small 50-pounder. I mean, these dudes were huge.
Yeah. I mean, Lincoln had some of the biggest legs, you know, in the world. I mean, he never did any, I don't know how he got big. He never did squats. Dude was
run our hills.
Run
the hills.
Walking around with tree trunks.
I know.
Just naturally crazy, and he always walked weird. He always kind of walked like duck-toed.
Was Lincoln the best you ever wrestled?
Yeah. Not the best I've ever wrestled.
Who would have been the best in our room that you wrestled?
Oh, best in our room that I wrestled? Lincoln and Tom, for different reasons.
Yeah. And what were they?
Lincoln I could score on. Tom from, for whatever reason, it was like wrestling Tom and Terry for me was like night and day. I was always either around Terry's weight or sometimes a little bit bigger than him, especially when I went to 42. And I could wrestle with Terry. Tom I could just never score on. I couldn't move him. I couldn't get him out of his stance. Lincoln but wrestling Lincoln was different. I think I would score on him because he took practice differently. Like his goal in practice wasn't to beat me in practice. It was to score points and to try new things to score points. And so he'd sometimes do dumb stuff. But that was his focus. How am I going to become a better wrestler? Try new things. Tom was like, I'm zoned in. Every practice I want to win. And I'm going to tell you I'm going to win it. Yeah. And then here's how I'm going to do it. And it's going to look exactly the same every time. So and
we're not done until I do win.
Yeah. With him, there was never a doubt. Yeah. With Terry, especially once I bumped to 42, you know, there was one summer that Terry and I were going to go at the Red Flag camp. So we'd always do the camp. We'd have our own practice. The coaches would watch, and it was a day. One, I was big. It was. I can't remember. It was obviously in between my junior and my senior year. So I was bigger than him, and it was when he was cutting to I think 125, and so he was smaller. But it was not a good day for him because it was probably one of my best days, and campers were there. And if people were watching, you generally didn't want to wrestle me. So like when we'd have those open mat rooms on the football weekends, me trying to find a partner was always hard. Like because people would know I'm going to go hard because I love people. I was a little narcissistic. Sorry, that's the way I was. Like more people watching me, the cooler it was for me. Yeah. You know, I'm going to wrestle center mat and I'm going to show people. Right? Yeah. And so. And I remember like we were going to go, and you know it wasn't like I was really putting it to him, but I was winning. And we get to the end, it's like okay, now we're gonna go best 2 out of 3. And so I think he shot. I scored a pretty easy takedown, and then I think he got in a bad position. I threw him a big throw, and me being me, I stood up and went 5 and started walking away. Oh. And so he fucking goes out, right? And Gable's like. Apparently you're not done yet. It's like I scored 2 out of 3 and I just scored a 5. And so I think we went 4 or 5 more like takedowns. And fuck it. It went from this is no longer a wrestling match to like we're on the verge, like I'm fighting like to make sure that I leave with my head on sort of deal, because that's the way it was.
Yeah.
That's the way it was with him. But again, wrestling Tom, I was never close to him ever. There wasn't a single practice where I'm like, I can beat this guy.
Yeah.
There was, and again, from day one to the day I left.
Yeah.
With Lincoln, I could score on. Joe, from a pure athletic standpoint, I started to figure Joe out a little bit, but Joe could just lower and shoot and score. It didn't matter. He didn't need to set anything up on.
Yeah.
Plus, Joe was 30, 40 pounds heavier than me. So,
yeah. How about in competition? Who had been the best? You're like, okay, that dude was like levels above me right now.
In competition?
Competition.
In college?
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody that I wrestled that I don't think I could ever beat.
Yeah.
You know, my freshman year, I only lost a few matches.
How about senior level? Did you wrestle anybody after college?
I never wrestled Colot. I wish I would have wrestled
You guys
Colot.
never wrestled?
No, we never wrestled. So,
God, that would have been a great match.
Bill Zadikin, I think, would have been good because stylistically would have been different. We were at the same weight that year.
Yeah.
We were on opposite sides of the bracket. I lost earlier. Like I said, I'd beaten Jaworski. I'd worked out with Kendall Cross. So I wrestled Kendall Cross at the Olympic Training Center. Stylistically, we were a lot the same.
Yeah.
I could stay out of the funk, but there was times where I'm like, okay, this is dangerous.
Yeah.
Like there's positions that he'd put himself in, and it was almost like he'd play possum.
Oh, really?
It was like, oh, I'm in a good position, and it'd be like, wait, I'm on my back. How'd that happen, right? The most schooled I ever felt, the most childlike I ever felt was a wrestler. And this, I've shared this story before. So the summer in between my junior and senior year, you know, in between nationals, they always run the USA Wrestling practices. And so Keith had me training with that team. And so the first day I got paired up with Corey Bays. So this actually might have been in between my sophomore and junior year. And Corey Bays was the either number 1 or 2, 105 pounder.
Yeah.
And so Corey Bays and I were doing goes, and I ended up snapping Corey's elbow. Not on purpose. He got into a front headlock. I got basically a chest wrap, faked one way, went the other, and his elbow went. And Jose was the world team coach that year. And he barred me from wrestling with anybody else on the world team. So he's like, you can come to practice, but I'm not giving you a partner. And Keith's like, that's bullshit. Like, he didn't do that shit on purpose. He's like, I don't care. He can't hurt our kids. And more importantly, he's beating the shit out of Corey.
Yeah.
And like, that's not going to help Corey. Like, what am I supposed to take it easy on the senior world guy?
Yeah.
So I show up the next day, and Keith's like, I got a guy for you to work out with. Doesn't speak a lot of English. You'll be fine. So we start warming up, and we're drilling, and like, this guy's good. He's moving around. I'm like, he's got sweats from like 1970s and shoes that are falling apart, but guy seems pretty good. Turns out it was Sergey Belglazov.
Oh, okay.
Like 6-time world champ, 3-time Olympic champ. And it was, we went from drilling to what I thought we were going live, but it turns out he was still drilling. I was going live to the, hey, let's take a break and now let's go live. And I looked over at Keith, and Keith is kind of smiling. It was the most humbling experience I've ever had in my life. And again, wow. I was a high schooler. I was good. I think I'd literally just won Junior Worlds. And so I'm like, hey, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And then, Sergey Belglazov walks in, and it's like, wow. Probably arguably one of the best Russian wrestlers ever. Probably one of the best technical wrestlers in the history of wrestling. And I'm wrestling live, and it feels like I'm moving in slow motion, and everything he does seems so easy. Like, I make an adjustment, doesn't matter. I make another adjustment, doesn't matter. And I didn't know who he was. I mean, Keith even said, it's halfway in, he's like, that's Sergey Belglazov. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Google wasn't a thing. I didn't have a phone. It's not like I can go over and Google, but like, who is Sergey Belglazov? After the fact, he told me who it was. I'm like, oh, makes sense. Makes sense.
I guess he's pretty good then.
Yeah. He's like, this guy's pretty tough. Yeah. He's like, but probably one of the coolest experiences as a high schooler to wrestle a kid. And again, it shows you, like, I was at that stage in my career. I'm like, I'm good, and I started to believe it.
Yeah. And
then you have that, and you're like, man, I have levels to go.
Yeah.
Like, because that's eventually where I wanted to be. I hung up my shoes before I had a chance to see if I could get that level. But that's where I wanted to be, and to get that level of experience. That's kind of go back to like being put in a situation that I got to where I was with the coaches that I had and the experiences that I had. you give a kid that sort of training environment where they get to wrestle a Sergei Glazov when they're 15 years old.
Exactly.
They can't help but be good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things that go into it, and you have to put the time in. You have to have the right mentality. But the support system that I had, I was fairly fortunate to have.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the girls team here at Simpson, and the guys team for that matter, because I know you guys, probably do a lot of joint stuff in there. They're very, very, very fortunate for their situation here, man. Because, dude, I mean, like I said, I always love seeing you every summer from Fargo, but it's been awesome sitting here and chopping it up with you. And I remember when I first saw you back in the sport, and I was like, that's awesome that McGinness is back in, just because, you always had like a really interesting way of looking at the sport.
Yeah.
And just a real cerebral side, which back in the early 90s, there wasn't a whole lot of cerebral. It was,
it was just like,
and
you were
just
more.
a different, you're in a different thinker. And I remember I learned a lot from the top position from Coach Gable, because I used to wrestle Coach Gable twice a week.
Yeah, he'd take you down and you'd never get out. I wrestled him once. I think you and Pablo weren't there.
I was, because I
you
wasn't
and
there.
Pablo were like the two favorites.
Right,
One day,
my goodness.
you guys are there. And he's like, Jeff, stick around. I'm like,
sucks.
Yeah, because I'd see you get a takedown, just you'd never live.
Yeah, you never be good. But next to him, I probably, like I said, it was the time I spent with you, and from a technical perspective, was really super valuable. Stuff that I still teach to this day. Yeah, so it was amazing. But man, this was a great conversation. And like I said, the girls and the guys, and just Simpson College in general, and the sport of wrestling, is very, very, very fortunate to have you back in it. So when
it took a hot minute.
Yeah,
sometimes I wish I would have seen that earlier, but things happen for. The other thing that I kind of point out is, where it's like your transition from there to teaching and to coaching. I would have been a shitty coach early on in my career.
Really?
I straight up, and not that I'm this superstar now. I mean, I think I'm better than because coaching isn't about you as a coach. And for a long time, I don't necessarily think I would have understood that. I would have, this is what I did. This is what worked for me. Therefore, this from all over, weight management, mental side, technique, all the things. And I would have been trying to create little Jeff McGinnesses when it came to coaching. And what I realized in retrospect, the reason I got to where I am isn't because somebody tried to mold me into something. Starting all the way with the kids club program and having various people coming in and teaching me, having Tom Lepic, basically take me on at what I would consider a very formative year in my career. He only coached me for a year, but it was very formative. To then transition into high school, where I had a club coach, basically private coach, not really even club at the time, because Keith started the club. What became Ubasa Wrestling, Pablo inherited that from Keith when Keith went to go to Virginia Tech. But having him, and then also having the right high school coaches at the right time with Coach Clyde Bean and then Brad Smith. What I value looking back is none of them tried to change who I was. None of them said, hey, Jeff, you need to be a little bit more serious. Hey, it shouldn't be this fun. You shouldn't be having fun while you're doing this. Or, hey, guess what? What you're doing with all the scrambling ability and trying to fight out of positions is you're never going to be good there. They just said, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep doing more. And so, had I thought about coaching right away, I probably would have said, well, this is what I did. And therefore, that's what we're going to do. And sometimes even my coaches here, the other coaches coaching, they have to remind me, like, hey, you're talking a lot about, or you're showing something that works for you, but let's figure out what works for them. And so, we have do same stuff that we wanted to be good at Iowa. Good at hand fighting, good at scoring snap downs, go behinds, clearing front headlock. Outside of that, we teach things, but we don't have a system. Yeah, there's things that we have systems for each girl, is the way I put it. Every girl has their own system.
Right.
Any girl who's above 160, if you don't hit a knee on a shot, hey, we're winning a lot of matches, right? But just trying to figure out, how you move physically and what works right-handed, left-handed, posting, hand fights, all of those things. It's intricate. And, working with the girls one-on-one and starting to have, they get mad at me because I geek out way too much. I start to go down the same way that Gable would sometimes go down that path where you go down that rabbit hole and you realize I've lost them. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, all right, I've lost you, right? Where did I lose you? And where do we need to restart at? Keely, who's staying over the summer with us right now, she's one of our best girls. And we've started over with her. Like we're working on stance and motion with her.
Yeah.
You know, and changing some of her shots. She's got a really good double leg when she hits it right. But now that she's bumping up from 160 to 180, we have to change a little bit how we shoot it. And she's like, I feel so stupid. Like, I feel like this is basic wrestling. I'm like, guess what Spencer Lee does at the beginning and end of every practice? Stance in motion.
Yep.
Right? The best wrestlers in the world still work on basics. Yep. And so, you know, kind of just taking that attitude with the girls and, you know, learning from them as much as, you know, hopefully they're learning from me.
I'm sure they'll learn a ton. My man, Jeff McGinness. Dude, that was awesome conversation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Best of luck. Go Simpson.
Go Simpson. Roll Storm.
Roll Storm?
Roll
Is that
Storm.
what it is? Roll Storm?
That's Roll Storm. And then you got to do a lightning. I don't like the lightning bolt, but I'll just do the Roll Storm. So.
There we go. Thanks again, my friend.
No worries.
Bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.